The wood grows around the walls of the mansis. As any student of the histories knows, the mansis has no walls. Christopher Illopoli traveling at night. All right. Hello, everybody. About 7:30. I know I always give myself like the 7 to 8. I always give myself sort of a 7 to 8 start. It is a hobby. But we are here for Cultist Simulator. I got something very cool in the mail. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Kickstarter for this game, there were a few different tiers. I might as well bring it up just for the benefit of... Incidentally, we had the Gentech Gamer asked about an hour ago whether or not I have already streamed Cultist Simulator. On the chance that you were seeing this VOD, I had not. I started 1 hour past the time that you asked that question. So, thank you for stopping by, though. I sometimes get to read what's in the chat that people leave and sometimes don't. So please don't expect that to be a regular thing. Anyways, so I've got the Kickstarter up here. And the different tiers. So there was an early bird pledge of about 50 backers just to get basically just to get access to the game at a lower cost. What else was there? So there were 4,090 people who pledged at the standard level, which is a copy of the game. I believe it was available for less than what the game ultimately sold for, so that is a good reason to follow those fine people at Weather Factory, sign up for the mailing list, and otherwise inform yourself about what they're up to. The next level was the level that I pledged at, and it's actually worth mentioning. So I do sometimes say this. Now, it's been a while since I've supported a Kickstarter, and that's just because, you know, there's only so much you can have on your plate, and I'm doing okay, but like I still have school expenses and such to cover. But one of the things I usually like to say to Kickstarters, and Cultist Simulator was no exception, which was, there is the contribution that you will individually make to a Kickstarter. And one of the best things that you can do for pretty much any indie game that you like is to let more people know about its existence. But one of the things that I like to do myself, and sometimes when it's a game that's sort of on the margin of getting funded, or if it's something that I really believe in, there's a few different reasons that I'll do this, but I like to just say, take my pledge and put it a level up. That's not always possible. Like some Kickstarters will have a really big jump. So the other thing that I say, like if it's not something that I can, I could presumably say, all right, I'm gonna knock this thing up to to the stratospheric level. So like, I never back at these levels, but like if there's a $500 tier, going to a $1,000 tier is doubling the value, and perhaps you don't want to throw another $500 at a project. By the way, good for you if you do put that kind of money towards Kickstarters. But basically, I said, you know what, that idea of a little digital book of of all the notes and things like that sounds like a really cool artifact, and this seems like a fun project, and all of these things. So I did what I said people should do, and I upped my pledge. Of course, now that I know I really like it, I probably should have gone for the stolen name tier. So if you backed if you backed at my level, you got a little USB key, and the producer, Lottie Bevan, producer and many other roles, you can see them right here. She apparently went out and got a bunch of these little USB keys that look like I think it's a Secret Histories book. I need to double check because I feel like the symbol on it is like, I think it's like VAC. It's been a while since I've seen the book I'm thinking of. But I'll tell you when I see it in the game. I'm sorry, I should know better. Anyways, so that's what I got in the mail, and I found out to my slight horror and amazement that they hand wrote. So I knew that there was like a bunch of stuff in their studio, just in terms of like all of the stuff, all of the keys, kind of ready to be sent out. And I know all hand packed with loving care. It's a very handsome package. I'm very impressed, knowing that it was 2 people who did this. There may have been help, I don't know, but like knowing that 2 people are sort of on the hook for fulfilling this obligation, like they are good looking packages for sure. And I was very excited. I knew what to like look for in terms of the packaging, and I opened my mailbox and there was a newspaper covering it. I moved it aside and I saw that blue packaging and I was like, oh yes, it came. So anyways, that came in. I haven't looked at it yet. I haven't even put it in the computer. I've got it sitting beside me, looking at it right now, but you folks don't get to see me, so you'll have to take my word for it. But that's the sound of the magnet making it close. All right, so if you went one step higher, you could get your name in the game, which is why J. Wigglesworth Jensen is in the game, among other names. There is a right to veto unsuitable names, and this is where Dank Meme Swamp came from. Not this game, but the previous iteration of this stretch goal for Sunless Sea. Obviously, it came with the notebooks. And then I think the next level above... Oh yeah, so actually I should give the numbers here. So there were 394 people who got my USB key tier. So that means almost 400 of these packages got sent out. Oh man, I'm actually holding the USB. This thing's well made. Open, damn you. Yeah, this is great work. I am really stoked to be messing around with this. Okay, sorry. I really should not be talking about my toys in front of the class unless I'm willing to show them. All right, so next tier you could get an answer to a question, unless there's like an NDA, because obviously somebody announced Dragon Age 4. I don't know who, but apparently there's a lot of questions about that. There's an invented word, which is coming still. Actually, I believe there's a few invented words. Name in the game, such and such. And then there was the 22-person, the like other physical item tier. It was an unusual thing. And I think I kind of know from the context of some of the tweets what it was. But yeah, if you had 300 pounds, you could get an unusual thing and answer a word, so on and so forth. Incidentally, if you want next time, the 5,000 pound tier was tattooing the developer. So if you think that sort of stuff is fun, you can do that. Anyways, that's a really silly start. I'm sorry. I am very excited to get this USB key. So very special thank you to Lottie Bevan for creating such a wonderful little artifact. And thank you to Alexis Kennedy for creating a game that was so interesting that I wanted to buy a digital copy of all the stuff that went into it. I guess you guys came here to see the continued adventures of Dr. Hobbs. So let's get on with it, shall we? I've got sunlight aiming directly at my eye right now, so I'm gonna need a second. And as always, I probably should get myself organized. So it looks like there's something I'm studying that needs input. Wakefield show up. Wakefield showed up. Hello, Ego. Good to see you. All right, yeah, that's right. We ended on Wakefield coming in. So I made a mistake by imprisoning the follower because I'm going to need to find some way of actually using these people in time. And I don't think they have the... I don't think, like, I'm going to need I'm gonna need some items to be able to make this work. I've got damning evidence that I am a little concerned about. Where were we? Right, so they wanted to gobble up my notoriety, which I don't have any of. Okay, Dread's coming up. So let's think a little bit about how I'm going to get myself out of this. So unless something happens in 2 minutes, I can't rely on the favor from authority to get me out of here. I'm working. I need erudition, but I don't have any right now. I'm healing up, so I can't go back to the manses. Danto TV, do you normally tell people how to play the game when you introduce yourself? Because I do already know that, but I really don't appreciate people being told how to play the game. Like, the whole point of this thing is to learn it, right? Well, it doesn't matter what your sense is, it matters what my sense is. I appreciate your apology, but it's the best that I can say is that it should be taken for granted that people will ask for help when they want it, especially for a game like this. Okay, so I'm just thinking about how we will navigate the next few turns. So the problem that I run into is over time, these are going to decay, they're going to turn to corpses, which turns them into liabilities with Wakefield. It is possible, I actually don't think Wakefield needs a reason to use this damning evidence. I believe that this will be sufficient to take me out without notoriety. We've already got Clovette doing the, the make us look nice job, but we don't actually have any of those. How long is the stream going today, Paint Bucket? I think I will do my best to do a 3-hour stream. It is rather hot, and I did have a bit of a late start, but I usually try to get at least 3 hours in, and I sometimes go a little bit later. So Clovette's kind of, her use is a little, it's neutralized at the moment, so I kind of have to live with that. What I'm probably going to be working on for the next little while is trying to get moth followers to gobble up the damning evidence. I need to find some other ways to upgrade my followers to kind of get them to a higher level. The main way that I can do this is to get advanced levels of Forge. The challenge is that I don't really have a lot of Forge kicking around on its own. These are not in the right spot. The main thing that's keeping me from doing some of my rituals is not having any special items. And the problem is that I don't think I have a team that's in a good spot to... I don't think I have a team that's in a good spot to actually perform these tasks yet. I've got a couple of Edge, I've got a Lantern, I've got Forge, I've got a Grail, and then I've got, I can recruit a hanger-on. Enid, I believe, is Knock, and I believe Neville is Knock as well. No, Neville is definitely Knock. But the big problem is that if I go too early, if I don't have what I need for these expeditions, then I wind up losing people. And I know it says to explore and take risks, but I don't want to take foolish risks. I think St. Agnes is a safer one that I can go to now that I think of it. But anyways, I'll dwell on this. I think the first thing I want to do is deal with the damning evidence before I ever consider any of these. Dentu, maybe don't tell me how to run my stream. If you've not gotten the hint, and I understand that there may be a language barrier here, but let's consider what's happened from the start of the stream. You've come in, the very first thing that you said was to tell me how to play the game. I told you that that wasn't appreciated, and why that wasn't appreciated. And now you're telling me that I should change my title specifically because you don't know how to conduct yourself in my channel. This may not be the right stream for you. I'm not going to be sad if you go away, but you need to consider how you're coming across right now, because it's not appealing to me and I'm spending a lot of time dealing with you, which I would rather not. So you're welcome to stay, but it's not my job to tell people not to spoil games for people. We could have ended this just at, I'm sorry, I'll know better. But now you're telling me how to run a channel, and I know you're a broadcaster, and I am not going to be coming into your channel and telling you how to run it. I would appreciate the same for me. Okay. So the ways I'm going to deal with the fires that I can take out right now. Followers are going to be searching the city. I need to get somebody with a high-level moth to get rid of the damning evidence. Of course, the risk of that is that the notoriety goes up and Wakefield collars me, but that's that. I'm going to be using Dream as much as I can to try and get a favor from authority when I can. All of my health is missing, incidentally. But, and then I do kind of need to do a recruitment effort, but that's going to raise my mystique, and of course that's going to create problems for me for Wakefield again, so. Yes, we did, Johnny Big Time. By the way, happy post-birthday. I feel very bad that I did not... hey, Coriism. I felt very bad that I missed the day, because you told me, and for some reason I thought it was the 3rd, and I didn't wish you happy birthday on the 3rd, and... Oh, hang on. This is good news. Okay, I'm going to be able to use Poppy. Yeah, anyways, guys, it was Johnny Big Time's birthday, and as you all know, he is my favorite streamer on Twitch, and if you've not checked out his channel, do feel free to do so. I'll give a proper shout out a little bit later, but I do want to take a minute and give him a very special happy birthday. Because I was a boor and totally neglected to wish him a happy birthday, despite all the time we spent together on his birthday. So, hello, Captain Zerge. All right, I know I've been sitting in the pause menu for a bit, but I'm just trying to sort of reacquaint myself with my moves. So, I can go to Poppy first. Okay, so this is just going to be one of these things where I'm relying on knowledge from the game. I know that something will potentially happen to my moth pawn that will render him sort of not useless, but less helpful to me. And so he seems like a natural sacrifice. And again, my immediate fires are damning evidence, and the way I can deal with that is either to obtain another favor from authority. I could technically off Wakefield. I mean, that'll come from exploration again. But right now I have somebody with a moderate level of moth who I can afford to lose if it goes wrong. So, the Bright Young thing, you mean? They went, I believe it was a death to fascination, because it turned out that it was a correct strategy for dealing with my problem, but I employed it too late. So... Alright, so we'll probably fail this, yeah. Oh, I've increased my mastery of the glorious lore, which we call by its aspect lantern. So I've gained an unmerciful mantra. Mercy, saith the watchman, is only found in shadow. Now I don't believe that is the stag door riddle we have. What must be open before the way opens? So I haven't memorized these things, but that strikes me as... So Based on the description, I would say that it's knock, but we'll see whether or not that is true. Okay, we've got our dread, so hopefully I won't have anything that comes up there. Now this is a liability, so the question now is there something that I can do with the aspect of... Can I incorporate something about the aspect of moth to be able to annihilate this fascination? I think not, but we'll see. Hireling, right, level 3 moth, not perfect, but that'll be a good reserve for my fortune teller. And study-wise, let's try studying the locksmith's secret, unless I have books that I've been ignoring. I do not have books I've been ignoring. Okay, so I'll combine my locksmith's secret in the name of getting the Igavine right. And again, it's always a little bit of a, it's a bit of chance to see whether or not this thing's actually going to work out for me, because I don't have any of the glimmering and the erudition. But at the moment, I have preferred rolling the dice on the study action rather than just build up a stockpile of erudition and glimmering like I used to. So I will try and pick up the pace a little bit, but I do sometimes take these new starts to excuse me. I do take these new starts to to move. Basically, just kind of reacquaint myself with what's going on. Okay, no one understands us, or else they understand us too well. So I can definitely risk. The peculiar rumor is something I can explore with. The catch is that it'll move up my notoriety. So speech-wise, let's have a chat with Poppy. My dear, I've been wanting to talk to you. Sometimes I fund scholars of the invisible arts. I'd like to offer you my support, a substantial contribution. All you need to do someday is to introduce me to someone who will end matters properly. She smiles benignly. Add passion to accept or reason to interrogate her further. I always accept things without reading them. Yes, that's exactly right. I'll come back tonight. Okay, so we've healed, which means I can go through the white door. I don't think I'm going to be able to use a peculiar rumor even if I want, but... So one of the things that I particularly want from Poppy here is the Spinitra, because that will be an item that I can use in my rituals, which means I might be able to do something with these two people. All right. So before I go back to my position at the Institute, Green Whisper 1213 says, found you on YouTube some time ago when you fell in love with this game, though you can't afford it. I do make it more enjoyable with my thoughtful insights on the game. I really appreciate you saying that, Green Whisper. Yeah, I mean, this is the nice thing about digital products, is that they don't expire. So I mean, for some biography, I started streaming when I was in grad school, so I can completely appreciate where you're coming from in terms of affordability. But one of the things I do enjoy about streaming is the ability to talk to people about games that I like, and I've definitely learned that there is quite a healthy audience for... Oh, damn it. I will still be able to use the fortune teller. Good. There's definitely a very healthy audience for people who like to live vicariously through, through these kinds of games. So I appreciate that feedback a lot. Stuff like that is the reason why I usually wind up playing games like Cultist Simulator as often. Because I mean, I like this game a lot, but I'm gonna get, I'm already gonna get something out of this just by playing the game. And then I don't think I have any instruments of worth. No. Maybe the sunset, right? I offer an influence. Is it the same as the... Interesting. Sorry, I'm definitely going off my own little world here right now. Yeah, I'm not ready to sacrifice lore. But yeah, so it's stuff that, I mean, in one sense, it's just, I love hearing how wonderful I am. Obviously that's going to make me feel really good. but it really does help when I get some feedback in terms of what games are working for people, because, you know, like I said, I enjoy this game, but it's a very easy one for me to play on my own, and sometimes I worry that the commentary is getting a little too repetitive. So I value that kind of feedback just because it really does allow me to, it allows me to kind of plan things a little bit better. I also forgot that I'm able to fulfill these commissions, so let's not go to work for a little bit, and let's employ my reason towards its true purpose. So the main effort here is I'm just trying to get some of these, I'm trying to get some items that I can use towards my rituals. Now, I think I am gonna, well, I can afford the 5 seconds to see what's coming down the road, so let's see what comes up. Alright, now this is gonna gobble up the fascination, unfortunately. So silence is coming up next. So in this case, I am going to use the peculiar rumor. The drawback here is that I might wind up paying for that in the form of notoriety if Wakefield gets his, you know, if I arouse the wrong attention. But I mean, this is what the Suppression Bureau wants, right? They want to stop me from realizing my brilliance. So we won't be a prisoner of our own fears. I've got 50 seconds before that thing runs out, but we will be heading towards the white door soon. And in 16 seconds, I'm going to employ the fortune teller to take care of the damning evidence. So you usually catch the VODs on YouTube, but you're excited to see it live. I'm excited to have you here, especially because, like, as much as I appreciate the feedback on the VODs, I really think it is the worst way to watch the cast, because obviously you can't see the chat. And my reactions are going to see totally disproportionate. One, because I'm probably not a very balanced and thoughtful individual, but also you don't always get to see what was inside. So it's nice to have some, I mean, number one, it's really nice to see people from YouTube just because, you know, they're friendly. But in addition, it's nice to be able to, just kind of take some of the feedback, or to be able to hear people say what they like about the game, or maybe if there was something that was unclear, because I'm beginning to understand the game pretty well. It doesn't mean that I always win. It just means that I don't feel uncomfortable when it comes to certain things. I think, yeah, here we go. So my minion's talent for deceit is limited, and this is a difficult task. They will likely fail. This will also raise my notoriety, but again, we take what we can. And yeah, it's always just nice to get some new perspectives in chat in terms of saying, you know, things that, like, what I might take for granted. It's nice to hear things that may not be obvious to me. It's probably weird, but you like hearing people read things out loud, and I'm a perfect narrator for the game. Well, I don't know if I could say it's I don't know if there is a perfect narrator for the game, because obviously there's something to, you know, there's something that everybody brings into it. And I know sometimes I rush through the dialogue a little bit, but I am told that people do like hearing me read things. So I'm glad that that's still carried on, because I sometimes wonder whether or not I'm just redoing the old stuff again. I learned a little bit of interesting trivia about the game, which I wanted to share with you. And we've got Le Chaux-Fleur beginning to understand. I'm not sure that can really be said about this yet. I don't know, it's I mean, I don't know about the secret game that's going on in the background. I kind of need to spend some time and actually work through that. I don't know if you're supposed to data mine the game or not. I do have a decompiler, but I don't like doing that to stuff like this. I like to actually experience the game as it is. So this is written the Tricuspid, and apparently it's supposed to be the tricuspid gate. I've repeatedly called it the Tricuspid gate because I haven't seen, let me actually just double check how far have I gotten? I have beaten the game, but I've not beaten the game on, chat. Sorry, on stream. So when I do those GOG things, I might maybe deliberately be throwing the game. Like that. I mean, you can't, I'm not someone who can beat the game in 3 hours anyway, but Yeah, it's I may have deliberately gone down a couple of blind alleys to make sure that I don't give away too much. Okay, where was it? Did he delete it? Oh, K5, if you're in here, there's a link that you might like that I just saw. Sorry, I'm taking a quick look at Alexis Kennedy's Twitter, and he had a funny thing about. Apparently, somebody found the difference between. I'm pretty sure it's tricuspid and tricuspid. But anyways, it's not worth spending the time looking into. Apparently, this is a mistake. So you feel like this game could have a pretty competitive speedrun. It's possible. I mean, some of it is randomly generated. I know that some people are going to get burned by expeditions, but that may change in a later patch. And yeah, when you... Okay, cool. Of course, winning and losing are very relative in this game, so I feel bad. And how you doing, Demsgag? Once people get a grasp on it, and certainly, yeah, definitely. Yes, I think I know exactly what ending you're talking about, Le Chauffeur. And that's the problem, right? Is that this game, well, it's not a problem, but the game definitely, gives you some different expectations in terms of what victory looks like. So, the hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the orchard of lights, where each fruit grows like sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of the fruit lingers, sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. Now that I think of it, I don't think it is the orchard where I normally get the favor from an authority, so I'll keep that in mind. This won't be too helpful for me right now, because it actually takes some dread to deal with my fascination problems. But I'm going to continue going through the white door. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over my like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the mantis. Alright, so the shifty woman's going to deal with the evidence if it comes down to it. We're still not in danger of anything, and in the season of rags, Poppy will return. My stag door riddle is what must open before the way opens. This time the research has failed, but I've learnt the lessons of experience. So that's kind of what we were expecting, so we're just going to throw the locksmith's secret back in. I'm sort of brute forcing it. Again, I found it to be, especially because I tend to find that I have an idle study otherwise. I just sort of work with what I've got, basically. Okay, so dimmed reason. I've got my unmerciful mantra back. The commission is done, although I'm currently doing nasty things. And this should hopefully get me a spinitra that I can imply in a rite. But in the meantime, let's see if there's anything fancy that we can do. I believe this gives us Grail. Yes, it does. Nope. Does not count as an ingredient anymore. Or maybe it never did, and I'm just... Well, that's gonna cause me some problems. Alright, well, in the meantime, let's do a commission on heart, because I got some money from Poppy. You were so lost in the stag door riddle before you learned to read lore text properly. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the biggest challenges that the game needs to overcome. And there's not necessarily a great way of doing this. Okay, Season of Ambitions is good for me because that'll help me with my fascination. Track down rumor, an unpromising address, but a promising resident. And we've got Victor. So the question is whether or not I want to use Clovette to deal with the notoriety, or whether or not I want to do a recruitment drive right away. Either way, I'm going to send a pawn out to explore some more. But yeah, so the challenge that... Oh yeah, I was going to Google something too. So the tricuspid, having 3 cusps or points in particular, denoting a tooth with 3 cusps or points, denoting or relating to a valve formed of 3 triangular segments, particularly that between the right atrium and the ventricle of the heart. One thing I do like to do when I run into words that I don't know, I like to actually look them up. And the problem that I have is that sometimes I think it's just made up stuff in Cultist Simulator or Sunless Sea, but I tend to find when it's a word I don't know and I actually bother to look it up, it is a real word that just seems so impossibly beautiful that it's, I thought it's made up. So if you want to improve your vocabulary, I highly recommend that you have a dictionary available to you. But yeah, so one of the things that I don't think this is something that needs to be worked on in the game, but I think people who are new to the game could benefit from is reading and rereading, because there isn't a single puzzle in the game. I may have found the answer through other means, because there is something really nice that happens to you over the course of the game where you kind of start to understand its logic. You start thinking in terms of sort of the relationships that exist in the Mansis and some things that you observe otherwise. But there isn't a puzzle that I've run into in the game that hasn't been revealed through reading a book or through focusing a little bit on a particular bit of lore. And there have been times when the answer's just been staring me in the face and I haven't been in the right mindset for it. But again, this is, to me, the heart and soul of Cultist Simulator, is that there are very few games where you can say that you are like... So there's lots of role-playing games where you are very focused on the mechanics. You know, I play Skyrim and I'm going to jump out of the way of this arrow and I'm going to hit this dragon with an axe and I'm going to make sure that I eat, 500 wheels of cheese to make sure that I don't die to the snow breath. But this game, I experience it. And the thing that's wonderful about it, and I wrote about it in my review, and I constantly re-emphasize it, is that if you don't go and look up a walkthrough, or if you don't have people tell you how to beat the game, the reward is that you get to have the aha moment. And it can be a simple thing like, oh, hey, I didn't know that. Like, so for me, I played like several versions of the beta without realizing that secret histories would give you locations. So I think there had been like 2 patches since expeditions had been introduced where I wasn't using them at all, and it blew my mind when I finally saw them. And one of the reasons I started looking for them was the game put a wall up in front of me. They started showing me books in languages that I couldn't get through the normal means, and I ran out of books and I couldn't get more lore, so clearly there was something else that I needed to do. Now that's a very trivial insight, right? But because I was playing the game, I played the game and before the Kickstarter had started, and I kind of got into a little bit of a groove, to have that moment of, oh, there's like a whole new layer to this game that I didn't appreciate before. That was really exciting. And it wouldn't have been the same experience if, somebody had just come into chat and said, was like, use a secret history to go in. No, I mean, the game does give you, exploring with the scrap of knowledge can uncover secret locations of the capital. And I think it's the right decision, because in the end, if the game presents you a big wall and you say, figure it out, too bad if you can't, you may not get enough buy-in to be able to appreciate the game. So somebody might get frustrated when, if they just had that little bit of an onboard, they would have really enjoyed it. But what I like is that they stop holding your hand past a certain point. And again, I'm pretty familiar with the game, so I didn't, I knew that, I kind of got the general idea of, my confusion is the confusion that my character is experiencing, and I can, I just need to think about what I have available. There's no way to get like permanently stuck in Cultist Simulator so far as I've been able to tell. So with all that in mind, I think it's to be able to sit down and just see this, not have to get cults for dummies, and just to sort of understand how this world, which has been hinted at the very beginning, and you get more and more information as time goes by, like, it's a really wonderful game that works slowly on you and ramps up. And to me, that is a really appealing aspect of role-playing, as opposed to sort of role-playing through a series of like combat mechanics. I mean, obviously I can pretend that I'm a Khajiit or something like that in Skyrim, but this one, like, I relate to this, to any character that has fragments of lore from incomprehensible textbooks because I was in graduate school. But, so to me, I personally relate to it very deeply. But in another sense, I think it's really nice to play a game where, you play Call of Cthulhu, and if you have a bad GM, it's like, okay, you read the hideous tome and you roll dice, and that does something to your character, and you don't really have this idea of revelation or knowledge. And then you have it with a really good storyteller, and they give you this idea of studying and working hard. Like, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in school, like university or whatever. Like, you can read a book and you can study a book. And those are two very different things. One does not like grab the Necronomicon and like sit on the toilet with it. You put yourself in the study and you don the garments of court and palace, if you want to quote Machiavelli, and you put the work in. And I like that this game does that, because I think if you told someone without actually having Cultist Simulator, I'm going to make a game about that, they would, they'd say that sounds boring. And yet this is an incredibly compelling game, as anybody will tell you. Anyway, sorry, I know I'm going a little off. There's a bit of chat. So you can brute force a stag door. Yeah. And that's the problem, is that you don't even know what level of lore you need. And so if you brute force it, the number of possible combinations is beyond what I think most people are willing to tolerate. And so it's one reason why I think it's one of the harder puzzles, but I think it's one that teaches the player good lessons. And yeah, the biggest challenge for the game is players that don't read. And I think the game gives you enough to say, it's like, if you're not reading, this is your fault. And again, there's a certain point of buy-in. Like, I don't know why you would buy Cultist Simulator if you weren't into reading. They're pretty upfront about that. So, Questions say, I like Secret World quite a bit, Captain Zerge, for that very reason. Though it may be unfair for you because people have different playstyles and that. Yeah, well, and that's just it. Like, I mean, you're not wrong, though, to say that this game has a certain level of reading expected in it. Like, the art is beautiful, the music is nice, but I'm not playing this because I find it really compelling to move card into slot. It's the meaning behind it. And like, the individual writing is really good, but honestly, the reason why I like this so much is the same reason that I love radio drama. Like, radio drama is amazing because it lives in this nice little space between reading a book, which is a great experience, and I like the fact that there's several games now where you can get the reading experience, and it's not the equivalent of it's not a low budget cutscene. We couldn't afford the animation, so we gave you text instead. That this is a game where you are getting some of that experience of reading. You are actively engaged in that experience. And radio drama, where you have that passive component, you have the story that's going on. It's going in time, so there's something that you sort of need to follow along with. But there's so much more imagination available to you in the form of a radio play. A lot of BBC TV series, actually, I heard as radio plays first, and only later saw them as TV shows. So, I mean, Cultist Simulator is right up my alley for that reason. And it took you 50... Dimskag, I'll say, like, it took me a really long time to work rituals. I felt I had enough, and I was always missing a component, and it ultimately was the expeditions that cracked the code for me. And Le Chauffleur was a little bit stuck near the very end, needing high-level influence or high-level ingredient to reach the ascension. You're just looping expeditions and the peacock door that you... Yeah, and I think that's one problem. I do know people complain about grind, and I don't think that's entirely unfair, but I think it's I think it's a little bit more merciful. I think the problem is some people will confuse grind for the fact that they haven't actually figured out how a certain thing works. And the catch is like you see someone and you really want to tell them, no, you just do this. But you know that if you do that, you'll ruin that wonderful moment that they may get where they realize what was required. So I'm kind of tempted to get the entry consultant, but I don't think I'm at a point where I want to do expeditions yet. So we're gonna hold off on that. It forced you to learn Morse code. Yeah, well, that's the big thing. Like, I don't think anybody's going to yell at you for not... Like, if you don't know sheet music, there's a couple of puzzles which are pretty hard in the secret world. But my opinion is, much like films, if you respect the audience... in my opinion, if you respect an audience... Mr. Pones, thank you very much for following. I know I'm going on... I'm going on at length, but I appreciate you following. What are some great... Oh, Mr. Rodney Dobbs, that's a good question, because a lot of the stuff that I read, or I heard again, was actually a TV series as radio drama. So I'm gonna tell you some pretty silly stuff, but I like them. So this starts off sad, but it's worth it. So my mom had cancer when I was quite little. And there wasn't really good cancer treatment. This has changed, by the way, but in my home city, there really wasn't treatment for that place. Is that a named fault? It was well, there's one hunter and one hireling, the chauffeur. By the way, is that a play on cauliflower? I'm not very good with French, but I'm curious if that's the intention behind your name. But yeah, so we would travel from Kelowna to Vancouver, which is a few hours drive, very frequently, and to pass the time. I mean, I had like a Game Boy and stuff like that, but to pass the time, my dad would usually listen to radio drama or books on tape. And so the stuff he liked listening to, and I think it's kind of translated into my stuff. Like, this is older stuff that he liked listening to, but he liked listening to Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. So like I was pretty much sold on politics stuff, like from a super young age. It literally means cauliflower, not a okay. Just put the underscore inside. Normally chauffeur is one word. Yeah. I thought it was that. My God, sorry, my views just updated. There's a lot of you here. Sorry, I will try to get a bit of a move on, but obviously I like the interaction with chat as well. So Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, I enjoyed a lot. Now that's a TV series, but I think the BBC did some special recordings because I know the delivery of a couple of lines are different. There's a character, Humphrey Appleby, who has these amazing, just tour de forces of legalese that, it's not even legalese. Like it's all English, but it's so deliberately obscured. It's wonderful. So there was that. Rumpole the Bailey was another one. When I started looking for things on my own, I loved the book The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I was delighted to find out that the radio series was just as good. It might have even started as a radio series now that I think of it. And this will be it's not actually a radio drama, but I actually quite liked The Baroque Cycle by Neil Stephenson. I think by the end of the second book, like I was almost ready to pack it in, and then it ended with this just big fireworks ending. I had to read the third one, especially because it has like Isaac Newton at the mint, and that's just stuff that I gobble up. But Audible Frontiers did a really interesting version of it where they got multiple readers to do the narration. So it is technically an audiobook, but the delivery of it is solid. Like it almost is a radio drama. So these are by no means like the best radio dramas of all time. These are just some things that have really stuck with me. And I mean, look, I'll put it to you this way. Like, I was definitely too young to be, like, enjoying Yes Minister. I definitely did not get all of the jokes. I mean, like, you know, when you're at single digits, you probably should not understand the Westminster system of government. But I don't know, like, if it makes a kid whose mom's dying of cancer have a good trip on the way to treatment, like, that's a pretty tall order. And I will say, like, it did give me a tremendous appreciation for the British series The Thick of It. So yeah, those are some that I can recommend. They're mostly comedy. I like to laugh. And yeah, it does only play on the Mansis. I believe this is a piece by Ligeti, but I don't remember the name anymore. War of the Worlds was one of your favorites. Oh, the Orson Welles one? Yeah. That is a good one. I've heard. Oh no, more fascination. I have heard that the story of people. I've heard that those stories are a little overblown, and partly because of Orson Welles, like, wanting to get that story that he like hoodwinked all these people out. But on the other hand, like, you know, I'm not sure what I would think if on the television all of a sudden people started saying that there was a. Well, H.G. Wells was the author of the book, but Orson Welles gave a very famous radio play where basically they pretended that it was a bunch of newscasts. He had a company called the Mercury Theater, and they presented it in sort of this almost like cinema verite, except it's not cinema style, of like news reporters, you know, saying, ladies and gentlemen, the machine in the farm is, yeah. Not a problem at all, Mr. Ronnie Dobbs. I mean, I don't know if I gave you some great. Oh, okay. I don't think I'm allowed to play this on Twitch, but if you guys can find Peter Sellers' "Suddenly It's Folk Song," I heard that on the CBC, and I was in stitches when I first heard it. So if you guys can find "Suddenly It's Folk Song," if you get to the end, you may not find it funny at all. I was killing it. Peter Sellers is great. But yeah, Suddenly It's Folk Song is... Oh my god, I love that one so much. Okay, anyways, I'm sorry guys. I know I'm losing a few of you, and I appreciate your patience on that. So, last night in the billowing blue of the lodge of the Sage Knight, I sat on velvet cushions and watched two dead contend with shining swords. They came with the place, said the woman who rules here now, the one who once called herself Gallagher. I was not the Sage Knight, if that's what you're wondering. He went higher in the Mansis long before I came here. My attention has drifted. The swords sparkle like falling water. The dead move like dancers. Okay, not great news for me with the added fascination, but we are going to be getting some dread before too long, assuming that I don't pause myself to death, and we will just continue on our way to the White Door. Not going to buy the knock influence, and I think everybody else has been taken care of in chat, so let's see if, again, it's not likely that the evidence is, yeah, okay, well, there's more notoriety, so send in the next clone. Task occupies ever more of my attention, but my efforts are paying off. Gained insight. So one of the main reasons I'm not sending Clovette to clean up my notoriety messes is that these guys are going to decay soon. And let's face it, there's going to be consequences for that. Alright. I've got a heart treatise somewhere. We go. Alright, so I'm gonna send those off when I can. Instrument-wise, I got nothing, and I don't think that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So I think I'm just going to have to accept my fate here and work at the Institute. We'll see whether or not the Season of Suspicion comes up next. If it does, I'm in some trouble. I get another Season of Ambition? Cool. I didn't know that happened. Alright. We're minding our own business as far as contacts are concerned. Crowded thoroughfares by day, a fog-wrapped labyrinth by night. I'll send my minions out searching for opportunities. Oh my god! Thank you, Weather Factory. Let's keep searching for someone till we can get rid of these things. So this restlessness, I'm not worried because this restlessness is going to get decay in 45 seconds. So even though I'm on my way to a loss, this thing's going to have a minute to run by. So I'm going to have 2 of these before too long. But I do need to mind my, let's get these commissions dealt with. So here's what the doctor requested. Yes, well, I know it's coming. So restlessness is going to be coming, and then there's going to be another one that comes by when the season of ambitions comes up. So really all that's happened here is I've netted out and I still have 1 fascination that's coming up. But this is good news. An experienced swindler will probably get that, we'll probably get rid of that evidence. So more money. Oh. Bronze Spinitra. And this only counts as an ingredient, not as a tool. So I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. So I've got Mystique. Again, we're hosed if Wakefield takes an interest, but we already knew that was a risk. All right. What is the light that brims in the surface of everything? The glory is coming, but I cannot be here to see it. Find dread now, or it's over. Yeah, I will admit, so in general, with my particular play style, I tend to find dread to be the most difficult of the sort of the malices to obtain. There are some things, so like I tend to find that with contentment I can get reasonably, I think I can get that pretty promptly, and I think I'm just gonna let this sit, and we'll I guess I can't really find fascination that often, but I don't need fascination that often, so. But yeah, I do tend to find dread is the one... fascination is probably the one that can end my runs more consistently than anything else. Okay, so we've got an icy atmosphere, and at the Lodge of the Sage Knight, we've got a subtle fraction. Last night, in the great pavilion above the grey sprawl of the Bounds, a woman who once called herself Teresa Gallimer sat on gilt-fringed cushions and offered me a horn cup of dream wine. The wine is imaginary, she explained, but the cup is not. To navigate the Mansis, one must understand the distinction. Perhaps one day you'll join me on the pilgrimage, or I'll join you. So here, let us share a secret. And her breath tickled my ear. Okay, so that's a level 6 knock. Again, we should be able to summon something with that, but I think my lack of instruments is going to be a liability on this. Uh-oh. So I don't think I can talk to the damning evidence. Okay. I'm just working out the times. 1 minute. Okay, so I've got 16 seconds. That's going to be down to 40, about 44 seconds. Then he's going to grab one of the notorieties that he finds. That's fine. That'll take, let's say, 45 seconds. We'll see whether or not it turns out. I think I'll be okay, but while I'm at it, what do I want to do? Well, the best way to deal with this problem is to probably get someone to kill him, so we will send our pawn out again. This will turn into dread, so I'm okay there, and let's jump back into the white door. I think I can neutralize the damning evidence. We're gonna get some tentative evidence, but I should still have the workers, so. Okay, now that I've got the influence, let's see if there's anything fancy I can do with my sunset rate. I'm guessing not, but let's see if we can make something happen. So we've got the subtle fracture. I don't want to use this restlessness because this is going to help my cause. Interesting. I can actually force the assistant to, and then invocation. Some of the thing from behind mirrors, I need significant intensity of lantern and a little knock and a little edge. Oh yeah, that's lantern. No. I can never remember exactly. Yeah, the edge doesn't work for me. Winter might. Summon one of the voiceless dead. Ah, these are the dead who do not ascend or descend. Power of winter along with the heart's warmth. I think that's the best I can go for. Well, this is, yeah, you're right. Well, he's grim and he's meticulous. So he's not mystic. I believe that's Natalia Dragon is the one who's mystic. So this isn't necessarily to off him, though. I believe the voiceless dead will help me with my evidence problems. Okay, more streets. We'll see what we'll see what they do in a minute, but I mostly just wanted to get a ritual done. Interesting paint bucket. I guess he's my second. Okay, this is good news that because the Mystique is going to be running by, and here we've got a shifty woman. Not great, but I might as well hire her. Okay, the Dread's doing its thing. And we'll get some contentment, but that's not what I want. All shall be opened. When we open a thing, then we learn its nature. I've deepened my understanding of the lore that opens, which we call by its aspect not. Alright, so I'm going to be doubling this up to hopefully get that third knock. I kind of need to go to the bathroom, but I know you guys have been waiting for some action to happen, so I'll try and keep it going for a little bit. Okay. So, if this evidence doesn't go away, we're in trouble. Ah, this is a tough one. So, I can get the restlessness and eliminate the fascination. Or I can risk it and get the favor from the authority. And as much as I want to know what's behind this... Actually, I am going to go to the bathroom. It should just be a second. But I'm going to... I've made my decision. I will see what you guys think I wind up doing. And I will see you in just a second. Kite! Delighted to see you. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I also had to untangle myself from the cables. Thank you for that, Le Chauffeur. I'll go over it in a second so everybody can see what we're talking about. But so my decision here, as cool as it would be, so on the odd chance that I get the favor from authority, I'm still going to go for the restlessness, and part of this is just the paranoia that comes from my losses to fascination before, but also the worst that will happen. Okay, so the worst that happens is the game ends, but my most likely individual to get rid of the evidence has come up. Also, it's possible I'll just lose a follower, which is a shame, but it isn't as bad as potentially having this long-standing problem of fascination. So I'm going to go for the restlessness. Also, I haven't read this text yet, so that's another reason. Some dead are lost in the woods, some rise higher, but many, so many, pass the white door into the house and become silent forever. Last night they thronged the entrance, our mouths were healed wounds, their eyes roamed my skin, and their hands sought my warmth, but my touch burned, and they drew back. Their urgency infected me. Oh yeah, that's a good call. The problem with Meatloaf Chauffeur is I have resisted the temptation so far. So in the alpha, I started writing things out, and then for the longest time, I really wanted to play this game without pausing, and I still do try and sometimes do that. I know some people on GOG were kind of impressed that I played it that way. But in this case, yeah, so the reason why I do it left to right is I tended to find as I got more and more lore, it was a little bit harder for me to sort of organize everything and keep the followers around. So I tend to find, like right now, obviously, I'm going to run into some walls, but this I just find a little bit easier to manage once I start getting additional lore levels. So, and how are you doing, Kite? It's always good to see you. I know you were streaming, I think you were streaming today as well. I saw you streaming yesterday, but I didn't get to stop by. But I'm always happy to see you. How are things? Alright, so we're going to jump back to the white door. And what else did I want to do? Well, our voiceless dead will be coming back in a minute, so... The other thing, so I have tried this possibility of whether or not certain events repeat. Whenever I've tested in the Mansis, I haven't been able to reliably get the same outcomes, but we'll see. Okay, a dark shape limned with winter light. It will not speak, but its eyes are avid, looking. The dead always long for the world eventually. So didn't lose my prisoner. I actually might be able to paint these people and keep them from perishing, but... Voiceless Dead has level 6 Moth. So it does have level 6 Winter as well, but... that is going to help me out with the evidence if it comes down to it, so... Well, as long as you get paid, that's what matters, right, Kite? But yeah, so I kept the secret histories a little bit higher just so I can toss them into the the exploration. I mean, if I really wanted to optimize the layout, I'd probably put like the forge close to the talk verb and whatnot. But I try not to. I don't put too much thought into it, just enough. All right, so these I can't use in these in rituals anymore. So the question is there an advantage to me using my work right now or not? The only influence I can use is one that I want to decay as quickly as possible, so no. I will just go back to work at the Institute. There is a dank and clinging smell to the Institute halls that never quite leaves one. Perhaps it is the paint, perhaps it is the patience, perhaps it is something in the walls. Because I am currently playing the Unflinching Order, and so I tend to use my forge aspect to upgrade people. That's the only reason. That wouldn't be a standing order. That's just unique. Oh, you know what? I said I was going to paint with these people, and I didn't. I actually don't know if I can put these guys in as painting, but you should be able to. My minion has returned, the evidence has been destroyed, and I am a little safer. Okay, so the question is, do I want to go on a recruitment drive and start turning these people into followers, or do I want to try and get more bodies to throw at the problem? Well, first thing we're going to do with the Unflinching Order, I want to just see how high I can take these people. So, Laidlaw! I would need... Neat. Okay, so I don't think this will work with my other followers, though. So, sleep. Ooh. Good to know. Okay. So, this means I will be going on expeditions soon. So do I want to upgrade my existing team, or do I want to... Well, what I definitely want to do is I want to incorporate a couple of Nock, because they're the only people I don't have in the lineup yet. So let's take... You gotta bring Neville on first, so... Neville! Hold still, this won't hurt a bit. Yeah, I was happy about that, Le Chauffleur. I think I probably could get by using the Voiceless Dead, but I'd rather not leave it to chance. So, promising research. Okay, so we've got our first level on this. While we are in the holding pattern, let me take a minute and tell you guys about Kite 260. All right, so we bought the Shifty Woman, but we don't actually need her right now. I don't think I'm going to do the... I'm not going to do these journeys quite yet, just because it'd be nice to have people at their higher levels. So under exploration, I can... look out for new things. There we go. This is the time, my dear. The sun in rags requires his conclusion. Will it be you, or do you have a friend? So I don't have the, I don't actually have the achievement for failing this yet, but I am going to sacrifice a pawn. What a loyal friend you have here. Do say goodbye now. All right, there's some contentment. The ceremony requires searing, only a little one. They will carry their mark for life. And welcome to the order, Neville. So anyways, let me tell you a little bit about... Oh, that's a good question. I don't believe you can put the prisoners in. I'd love to, but in this case I believe it has to be a willing sacrifice. So aspect follower, can't be summoned, and it can't be a hireling. No. 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 Anyways, so Kite. The person who I've claimed I'm going to shout out and then never do. Kite is a very friendly caster. I know him the best as a co-op caster, but one of the things that's really nice is he always talks about my apparent intelligence whenever I come into his cast, and that's great because I definitely don't feel like God's gift to academics. So whenever I come in there, so there's a couple of things that are great about Kite. So first of all, he's just an absolute sweetheart, and he will treat everyone the way I really wish I could treat people, but I'm too much of a jerk to be able to. But no, I think one of the things that really, stands out to me about Kite is he has got a tremendous talent for doing co-op casts with people. I have had some people where I was invited to co-op a game, like kind of co-op a game with them, and I actually found it quite difficult. Okay, so now if it was the same draw as before, ooh, Forgotten Chronicle. Story of a city without a gate, a queen who was not born, a war which was not fought. But yeah, so what impresses me so much, it's not just that Kite is able to co-op games with people that he gets along with. Actually, I don't think I've ever co-opted something with Kite. We need to do that. But he's able to maintain a cast. He's able to actually bring out the best in the person that he's casting with. And I can say this because I had a really tough time co-oping with someone. It's not that they weren't a good person or anything like that, but it was difficult for me to entertain while simultaneously playing the game with them. I sort of felt like I had to put a bit of work in, which I hadn't planned. Kite makes it look effortless, and I can definitely tell you from my own personal experience, like he makes something that is actually quite difficult to do very easy. And on top of that, he's just been one of the most consistent and one of the, he's just been an outstanding supporter of the cast. He's somebody who I think, I don't like to focus too much on this, but there's something I don't quite like about Twitch, which is there's a very strong tendency for people to kind of treat it like it's a non-repeated game. People will be one way on a cast and another way off cast, and some of the people who you think are just wonderful people are different. It's like working in the movies. Like, if you really want to know whether or not an actor is easy to get along with, it's not the on-set stories, because everybody kind of knows that everybody's watching at this point. But you want to find out how they are in the makeup chair when the doors are closed. And there are people who you can sometimes meet on Twitch who, like, when you have a conversation with them, it's very clear that they are doing a small calculation in their head about whether or not they can, like, increase their follower count talking to you or something like that. And, like, I've gone to a couple of meetups, I won't say where it was like this horrible game was being played where, like, the objective of the night is, like, to give everyone your business card but not to accept one from someone. And yeah, I mean, there are some very good things about Twitch, and there are some things I could really do without. And it's kind of funny because, like, the first generation of people that I knew on Twitch, in some senses, I kind of wish that I just hadn't started on Twitch. Like, there's other things I could have done. And now, having moved on and, gotten established and doing Cultist Simulator, which I really enjoy, I like it. And it's given me an opportunity to interact with people who I wouldn't normally reach. But the reason why I mention this is that Kite had quite a bit at stake in the past, and it would have been very easy for people to just sort of, not really be in touch, not really be involved in my cast. And Kite didn't do that. Kite is somebody who has a very solid core as a person. And that comes through. Again, I think that comes through where he can see the best in people on their, when he's doing the co-cast, when you come into his chat, you feel really valued. He's just got a really great attitude. He never swears. I try and get him to swear in chat, but he never does it. He's a really nice guy, and he's a very genuine person. And again, like, one thing that I don't like doing, obviously I speak very, I'm speaking in riddles because one of the things I dislike is quote unquote Twitch drama. Like, I don't really care who doesn't like, if X and Y are fighting or something like that. And I don't like contributing to stuff like that. But the reason I do mention that particular story is that I think it gives a really great indication of character. And I think that should be mentioned for Kite, because in the end, like, anybody can sit down and play a game, but generally you tend to watch streams because of the people who are running them. And that's one of the reasons why I really like hanging out with Kite, no matter what game he's playing. Although I really do like it when he plays Metal Gear Solid Revengeance, because that game is ridiculous. Also, I don't know if he's still here, but we've got Johnny Big Time. Johnny Big Time, actually, you know what? I'm going to queue up a clip of Johnny Big Time, because I've not been making a lot of progress on the game tonight, so I'll try and add a little bit of extra time on the end, but no promises. Johnny Big Time is my favorite caster on Twitch. He never fails to be hilarious. He's got a great, I don't know, he's just got a great attitude and just a gift for finding just these absolutely magic moments inside of games. And, like, if it's really exciting, everything that's going on, or if he's utterly confused by what's going on, like, it's great. I think what I'm actually going to show you, so one thing that I really like about Johnny Big Time is he actually gave me a copy of Super Hot. And I really wanted to play that game mostly based off of his playthrough. So to give you an idea of just the pure enjoyment that you see on display on the Johnny Big Time channel, I will actually demonstrate it to you in the form of these two You're still here just playing some Battlefield. Oh yeah, I saw you go online for that. I'm going to show you 2 clips. They're like, in total, they're less than a minute. But here is Johnny when he's kicking ass in a game.
Fucking face, uppercut, doge to the face, punch, fucking Rocky Balboa, coming at you hard, heavy, fast, Samurai Jack. Oh, slice him in half.
So I love reactions like that. If you go through Johnny's clips, it's all stuff like this, just totally pure reactions to some really fun games. But I also like it. What I really like about this one is especially the look on his face when he realizes the situation he's got himself into.
No. Okay. All right. I don't know. It's a tough one. I think I threw the other handgun too early.
Maybe I should demskag, but that's never going to happen. The nice thing about Cultist Simulator getting a full release now is that there's better streamers out there who can manage talking and playing. And you can watch them. Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My host had manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them anymore, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities, but you've come here for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story that I heard in my Kerisham days. You are welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. I'm slightly curious. Yeah, but I mean, saying not to be rude doesn't make it any less rude. Like, you've said your piece, and I reserve the right to say it's like, you're probably right, to be totally honest. I'd probably have more people watching, and I might even be able to make a career, but it's a hobby, right? And this is a way that I get a chance to share my time with other people. So the best that I can say is that, you know, the things that make my cast not work as well are also the things that some people like about it. And I always do my best to try and get better. I mean, this is a perfect example. Like, if your objective was for me to play the game more, like, I am going to have to stop the cast to deal with it. But, you know, the catch is that you can't, you know, it's just like games. So there's plenty of people who say that for Cultist Simulator, there's a lot of people who say, you know, oh yeah, Alexis Kennedy games, really good writer, can't do game balance. I think that's a very unfair assessment, by the way. The catch is that the qualities that drive, you know, designers for game. Now, I can't claim to know what's inside of his head, but I feel like the qualities and experiences of designers and the list of things that they, know and what goes inside their, work. Like, you can't just say, you know, I'm going to cut off this little part for them and we're going to change the rest. Like, there's a development, you know, even in terms of the research that I do, like, there is a set of interests that I have which have led me to have, you know, particular insights or particular angles on a given topic that, you know, that let me write that paper that nobody else did. And the same goes for casters, that, you know, part of this is the experience and just sharing the game. Like, you know, when you're doing the couch co-op with someone, or even just, you know, sitting around somebody's house and sharing the game with them. A lot of that time is spent not playing the game. And, you know, I know where you're coming from with that, and I'm sure you mean well, but, you know, there's just a certain point where, you know, the cast is what it is, and, you know, sometimes there's a lot that's going on in chat, and I think there is value in, you know, there's just some value in spending the time with the people that are here, and like chat interaction is part of Twitch. So I totally get that it's not for everyone, But I also think there's just a certain point where people have different styles, people have different preferences, and in my case, you know, taking some time to talk over the game is it. And I appreciate the people who hang out, but I mean, this cast is for me too, right? So what did we have? Oh, congratulations, Green Whisper. You've made it another year. Almost. We don't know what's happening. And you've seen another game of Secret Hitler. It's really funny. Yes, Secret Hitler was... that was a lot of fun. That was almost exactly a year ago. Also, the one thing that I wanted to do before was actually I don't have a mod anymore, so... well, I do, but like in terms of regularly getting this stuff out, I usually have to do it. So those are the links for those two people. All right. I think I'm just going to keep flogging the white door. And there's not a lot I can do with the follower betrayed, so... Oh, but I do have that subtle fracture now. Oh yeah, that is a level 6, so I will be able to use... I think this thing has to be used as an ingredient, but I should be able to use Natalia Dragon. Well, we'll see. We'll see which. I think the human corpse would probably be better if I just let that decay into evidence. All right, the ceremony requires a searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark all their life. What do I need to get the next door? You mean to go through the stag doors? So I need to solve the stag doors riddle. And I am not inclined to... So I tend not to do walkthrough kind of stuff, Green Whisper, so I'm not exactly going to say what I need. I do know what I need to be able to solve the riddle, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have it. So once you pass the stag doors, once you solve the stag doors riddle, that will unlock the next little bit. Incidentally, one thing I can say for you guys, if you do want things to move along, one way that you can incorporate chat activity into it going on, if you do have questions about the game, I like discussing it. Like I said, I'll usually give more arcane answers for things that are aspects of the, like, are kind of walkthrough-ish. But that doesn't mean that I won't talk about those elements. So, hello, Mjolnir's Might. How are you doing? Streets are strange in the hour called the Menascate. So I'm avoiding the talk right now. Actually, I can probably recruit. Enid, we're always looking for more knock. You're already a believer. Shame on me. All right, then we'll take the hanger on. 30 seconds? Yeah, we'll be good. I've actually find it a tricky one, to be honest, Le Chauffleur, but I have managed to make it work. All right, my follower is gone, I remain. Populous Girl is seen here and there, and she may have more to say to me. So whether or not we're able to get the chilly atmosphere taken care of, namely because you never had core. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I've done it once before, but I'll be honest, I didn't find the I didn't find the corpse that useful. Okay, mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes, I am sane, if that means anything. No fascination drives your visions, it is over for now. So, kind of weak lantern, and obviously if I want to use that lantern aspect, I can always use Natalia Dragon, who is about to expire. So, the challenge here, of course, was me imprisoning my my follower. Really what that meant was... what that wound up meaning was I just wound up with an extra notoriety that I had no business getting. Uh-oh. Oh, no, it's gone, so we're good. But, you know, you live, you learn. I think I'm gonna use the remaining Furtive Truth, because... You know, you can find different level of places to explore with secret histories, but what is the highest level that will give you something to explore? I believe it goes all the way to... I believe it goes to the max level, which is, I think, 20? No, it goes up by 2. So maybe 14? It's like 14 or 16. There'll be a number. Basically, when this thing goes into a big circle, you're at the highest level, and it's a unique lore. So, converting clues to evidence. I am certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Okay. So once I'm done chatting, I'm gonna get the. I'll get my. Actually, no point in getting my money's worth with the expended. With the swindler, because my. My corpse is better. So, first things first. Voiceless Dead, please destroy the evidence. Now, as far as Wakefield is concerned, I think we'll try and spook him with Dread when we get a chance. Does anyone know what the highest level of secret histories gives you to explore? I've actually not got the highest level. I've gotten the second highest level, and you start going to places that are almost certainly not Earth. Or at least they exist in a space beyond what you'd normally expect. I think in this case I'm just going to go for the extra furtive, just so I can have one of everything. The many dead enter the mansis through the white door. They wander its corridors in silence until they are lost. Some embrace each other, some devour each other, and some force their way into the dreams of the living. A few record their memories on mansis stone where it is soft. They scratch it with their nails, you see. Last night, I read one of those memories. Yeah, I'd like to... I actually have a couple of, let's say, stunt runs planned. Erudition. Okay. I lost the... I was too slow, so I lost the knock influence, and I am sad about that. Second order influence. Okay, right in heart with okay, heart Byzantine tinct. Byzantine tinct is knock. Summon the voiceless dead. Use this right with a corpse and the edge aspect. Okay, let's see if we can do something with this human corpse. Oop, not this one. I am not thinking straight, sorry. That's for victim, that's not gonna work. Probably this, okay. No? Oh, that one's supposed to be sacrifice. Do I? Okay, so that's for person. This wants influence, and I don't think I can... Yeah, okay, so I don't have the right that allows me to raise... That's right, raising a corpse actually is really hard, because I think there's like one ritual that'll allow you to do it. Just noticed they added a Canadian ship for the first time in World of Warships, the HMCS Haida. Cool. Of course it's a premium ship. They're going to add it on Canada Day and make us all pay through the nose for it. Watchman Sorrow ruined your run once? Alright, this time the research has failed, but you've learned the lessons of experience. Again, I'm not too sad when that happens, just because because I don't actually put any effort into gaining the additional, you know, the minor levels of, like, reason and passion. Like, I don't feel too sad when they don't turn out. Like, there's other things that I can do, so... Sorry. Jumping through a couple of things here. Alright. Karasham. So I believe that's the last one for this exploration. You know, I shouldn't be ignoring Wakefield. It's not actually clear that I can get rid of the notoriety problems. So I'm gonna take my pawn and see if I can get a bit of muscle to help me out in that respect. So normally what I'd do is I'd start using the Forgotten Chronicles, but sorry guys, chat's disappeared. They added some news about the next Hearts of Iron DLC, fully reworked UK focus tree. Is that the Man the Guns one, the naval focused one? I mean, it would make sense. It's not, I mean, apparently Britain has had a rather impressive navy. I don't know if you guys knew that. Favor from an authority. Well, that'll be helpful. Last night I dreamt of a blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the Bounds. I listened to the mistress of the place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively, after what they tried to do to Christopher. But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. Yeah, so I know that was... So this is a really interesting example. Love Lust, oh my goodness. I actually need to start talking about the game now. I was going to say something about the way that Paradox has been working on Hearts of Iron 4, but I need to acknowledge the lovely Love Lust Games who's inside here. I apologize for not having some big like emote or something like that come up when you raid. I'm still old-fashioned and remember when you could only host people. But guys, Love Lust Games is, I believe, an official member of the GOG stream team. If not, she is a deeply important member of the guests of the GOG stream team. I'm pretty sure she's a member of the GOG stream team, and has actually heard me shill for GOG in the most blatant and just shameful ways possible. But is also a big fan of Cultist Simulator. So if you guys are interested in somebody who is familiar with the game, if memory serves, she's been playing Prey recently. But anyways, absolutely somebody worth checking out. Again, GOG has been very good to me. In fact, I believe it is through the subtle proddings of Love Lust and Pyron Jade that I've been getting a little bit more attention there. Yes, you are. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, like, I definitely don't want to misattribute membership, but yeah, Love Lust is somebody who I actually feel like I don't spend enough time watching the channel, but somebody who was invaluable during my interview with Alexis and Lottie, especially because I had a hell of a time getting that thing set up, and was just, you know, super encouraging, did a lot to talk me off the edge when I was just about ready to just, you know, smash my laptop on the ground and jump off the top of the building. Cannot say enough good things, and is giving a very beefy host of 22 people according to Twitch. So, and thank you very much, Love Lust Games. So do check her out. Let me get my... I'm a professional streamer with a bot and everything. I will warn you guys, so there have already been a couple of complaints that I'm not making a lot of progress inside the game, and that is true. And part of that is just because I need to calm down after a day at work. So I really appreciate you guys coming through. That reflects wonderfully on Love Lust Games, but I totally get that it's if it's not your thing. But if you are interested in Cultist Simulator, I love talking about this game. It's a fascinating one. I strongly recommend that you check it out. Be sure to buy at GOG.com, the fine DRM-free home of all interesting independent games such as Cultist Simulator. $20 or your local equivalent. Yeah, please do ask questions about this game if you're interested in it. I actually just got a cool USB key, which I'm going to be checking out after the stream, with all sorts of goodies about the making of the game inside of it. But gotta watch. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's always hard. I almost never stick around after I do a raid just because I've been casting for a few hours. But yeah, if you guys are curious about this game, if you've never played it before, speak up, because I love sharing this game with people, and the more people who buy it, the more likely there is that I get to see a sequel. So this game was already really successful, but there's some wonderful people behind it, and if I can help make this thing a little more approachable, not that I really think it needs. So the one thing I'll be clear. Even though I do... Uh-oh, my minion is not returned. They have failed, and their blundering may have attracted attention. Well, I don't need to worry too much because I got the favor from the authority, but this does create some complications for me because I don't have anybody who's good with moth anymore, so we'll send our guy out. And in the meantime, as much as I'd love to get more... as much as I'd like to get some more followers, I think I'm going to start upgrading my people. So Salbia, congratulations. You are now the first higher level believer. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. They are definitely planning DLCs. I think there were 3 planned originally, sort of out of the base game, and I believe there is probably more now because the game was successful. Although, of course, Weather Factory is going to make other games, and I have, not that I have private information on this, but I have a fairly, I wouldn't put money on it, but I would put bragging rights on it as to what the next thing's going to be. Ah, lovely, an experienced swindler right away. So the Mantis giveth and the Mantis taketh away. Tune in for 2 months already. You've learned something dramatic? Oh, I did not know that. What did you learn? Sorry, Nubandius. And welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I'm assuming you came in on Lovelust's raid. For those of you who've never heard of this game, I'm currently playing a gentleman called Dr. Hobbs, who was someone treating my previous character who went insane. Basically, he started reading the journals of this insane man and suddenly started learning a little bit more about the world that sort of lies beyond dreams, the Mansis, and has now founded his own cult and is following in his footsteps. Has done a slightly better job of avoiding madness, but... Numandius says, you've been deliberately keeping yourself unspoiled because you think you're at the point where your oblivious nature and tendency to miss noticeable things means you need to start looking. It's tough. I mean, I will tell you that I was in the, I'll call it the beta for lack of a better term, but basically the Kickstarter backer version of the game, and there were 2 full patches that went by that had introduced the ability to do expeditions. I did not know that expeditions were in the game until I just randomly put something in a slot at one point, and I was like, oh my god, like this is unbelievable. So it's not like I'll actually give you a couple of tips in that regard, because I actually think that is something that I can help people out with without spoiling the game. Obviously, I'm going to be making progress, so sometimes there will be... I'm not going to go out of my way to talk about higher level things. I'll talk about things as they emerge. But I do think I can help. I've been meaning to do a what happens if you get stuck in Cultist Simulator video, because I think there is a difference between learning to learn and kind of like wanting somebody to play the game for you. And I think teaching people principles about how to play the game is good, and I think that is in keeping in the spirit. That's basically saying is like, for some reason, the breadcrumbs didn't have the intended effect, so I'm going to help you appreciate this game. I think that's positive. And then there's like, okay, these jackasses decided not to include a tutorial, so I'm going to give you a tutorial. And that's not the way to look at it. The decision not to include a tutorial was a very specific one, and I think it was a very good one, because otherwise you're going to... it's not going to be the same experience. So... You're playing it now. You occasionally hang out on Twitch. Decided to look up a category. Check my name. Oh, cool. You did not know that you could use Spinitra as an instrument to upgrade followers. Cool. So I'll tell you some of the insights that go behind that. Google suggests that you could get rid of notoriety by having a heart follower consume it, but as of yet, no success. In your previous playthrough, you got through the Peacock door, probably the furthest you've gone so far, but you didn't notice the fascination racking up. The fascination has been the end of my last run, so you and I are on the same page. I read this one before, so I'm gonna move aside. So I'll do, okay, actually, so here's not a bad example. I'm sure you guys probably have already noticed. So if you guys are new to this game and you're interested in checking it out, you can click on empty boxes and it'll show you cards that you can put in. But of course, the problem with this is that potentially you may not have the card that's appropriate. So it's all well and good for me to say that I can dream about fascination, but I need a reminder. I need dread, and I don't have any dread right now. So it's a problem. In this case, I'm just going to go through the white door again. But I'm going to show you where the insight about the upgrade comes from. I am destroyed, I am remade. Now sear my skin, and by these marks shall I be known. I pledge myself to the flame, and I shall not flinch from any remaking. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about... So here's the way that I'll look at this particular problem. I'll say, I want to somehow upgrade my... And so what this is going to be, I'm not actually going to solve this puzzle for you guys. You've already seen how I've upgraded someone. I can't get around that. But let's think about a systematic way where somebody who didn't know, this is basically how I found out how to do this, here's a way that you can break down this problem into some digestible components. The main thing, actually, I don't think I said this before, the main thing to solve any puzzle in the game is to read the text and reread the text. I sometimes skip it because I know that I go slow, and so things that I've already read before, I tend to skip over. But here's an example of how to decompose this problem into manageable parts. So we say unflinching order, okay? An occult society dedicated to the fire that changes and remakes. You can use cults with the talk verb to recruit or promote followers, and to send them out on errands to gather resources. A believer can be promoted to a disciple, and a few gifted disciples can be exalted even higher to reshapers. So we've got some ideas in terms of what's happening. So let's say that I've said, okay, I've got a bunch of believers. The game is telling me now that I can upgrade someone to a higher level. So it says, what are the things that I can put inside? I can put an associate inside. Actually, here's something I haven't tried yet. We've got Ibn al-Adim. I don't think this will do anything, but great example. So it'll accept mortals. It will not accept prisoners, hirelings, or hunters. So Dr. Adim. Ah, okay, can't put that there. Must have one of these aspects mortal. That's kind of interesting. So technically, this satisfies the condition. I'll make a quick bug. So I don't think there's any reasonable way for saying you should recruit your mentors, but it's not bad. But anyways, so what you're looking for here is you say aspect mortal, and you can't take prisoners and so on and so forth. Next up, ceremony. In this case, it'll take lore. Now, obviously, the only thing that you know about lore is it'll take a lore. So I could say, well, maybe I put my highest lore inside of it. But, does it logically make sense that when you're conducting a ritual on behalf of the unflinching order, do you think that you'd put a secret history inside there? Personally, no. You may feel differently. So we'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna Smith's Secret or Ardent Orison. Now this I'm just sort of making a wild leap, and I'm saying is like, last time I used some lore, I've got slightly better Forge lore now, so I'm gonna stick this inside here. And we'll say, okay, you know what, Laidlaw, big fan of Dragon Age. Give me a disciple. To promote a believer to disciple, I will need to provide an appropriate aspect for the cult. So in this case, it's basically telling me here to use Forge. to at least the 7th intensity. So what have I got here? Well, Laidlaw is Forge 2. The Ardent Orison is Forge 4. So the first thing that I think to myself is, okay, I've got, you know, I can upgrade to the level 6 Ardent Orison, and at that point I'll be able to move Laidlaw up, no problem. Of course, I'm not going to be able to do that with any of my other believers. But let me just take a second here. But the last step of the puzzle, of course, is to say it's like there's an empty spot. So it says what it's specifically saying here is that I need 7 Forge. It doesn't tell me how I need to get it. So what are the things that I can use? Well, I can use Summoned, I can use Influence, I can use Tool, and I can use Ingredient. Now, if I want a tip, I can just click on Trappings, and it'll actually say, hey, here's a bunch of things that you might try. Right? Oh, Fascination. Well, does Fascination have Forge? No, so this isn't going to help me. But there's no rule saying that I can't use it. Likewise, you know, Passion. Passion in this case is... Oh, it's Moth. Sorry, I thought it was Grail. I believe Reason is Lantern. So if you notice here, you know, in the case of funds, it doesn't do anything because it doesn't have an aspect, but you can put it inside because there's no rule saying that you can't put it inside. Oh, interesting. Sorry. He's not mortal. You're right. I wasn't paying attention to that. Oh, so this just winds up being a commission, I guess? Yeah, sorry, I was asleep at the wheel on the Adim thing. You guys were right. But yeah, anyway, so that's an example of how I can decompose it. Personally, because I like trying to build up or using some of like the internal logic of the game to solve some of these things. I don't normally like getting the pink buttons. The main reason for that is because it makes me focus on what I have. But of course, if I've got some Forge summoned creature, I could use it to upgrade possibly. There's nothing saying, there's no like negatives inside of here. So in this case, just the insight of the fact that, the first thing I wound up using these things in were rituals. But in this case, I'm like, oh, you know, the hint, by the way, if you didn't pay attention to this stuff, there's a lot of information on these cards, but if you just look at the card, don't look at the silver, look at the bronze. I mean, that's obviously aspect of Forge. And there's some other things that you can use the bronze Spinitras for, which indicate that it's something that's appropriate for Forge believers. So that's, you know, that's kind of the example of how I came to understand this stuff. But there's a few different paths that you can take. None that I've been able to find, Green Whisper, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not in the game. As with everything, it's you know, I like this game, and I think it's fair to say I'm pretty experienced with it, but it doesn't mean that I can credibly claim that I know everything about it. You did get a gold Spinitra. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've gotten the silver, I've got an iron, and I've got a bronze. Where was I? Sorry, I was just thinking no rituals available to me because I don't have the knock. I think I'm just going to go back to the Institute. All right. I forgot that I was hiring them again. Sorry, I got a little... I went down the rabbit hole. So I think I still want to try and hire an assassin, but this will at least help me with the evidence. And what's coming up? Season of Dread. 1 silver for the mortal life. Yeah, but she also gives you a bunch of like worldly resources, so... I'm not going to fault her for paying me for my friend's life. The otherworldly resources, I'm sure that's just for her talents. Okay, hulking fellow. Not my best option for hunting down Wakefield, but I mean, I've already got a big stack of notoriety, so it's not like I'm gonna... Okay, I gotta think about this. So the Season of Dread is coming up. Yeah, I can't do it. Let's go to the Orchard of Lights. Hey, another Forgotten Chronicle. Last night I walked in the Orchard of Lights. I plucked fruit which is always ripe and consumed it in 2 bites. The taste is not to be forgotten. As I licked the glowing juices from my fingers, I saw a message carved in the bark of the tree. When I awoke, I recorded that message, all that I could remember in my diary. So yeah, I mean, because I've already got a stack of notoriety, I might as well try it. Normally what I would do with Wakefield is I'd try and take the Dread and spook him, but the drawback here is that I know that the Season of Dread is coming up, and it's 45 seconds to run down the clock on the restlessness, which means that I'm going to be in trouble. I am destroyed, I am remade, now I sear my skin, and by these marks I shall be known. I pledge myself to the flame, and I shall not flinch from remaking. So obviously this is an inefficient way of me upgrading my followers, because now I'm out of Bronze Spinitra, but those are fairly straightforward to get from these fine people, which is why I think I'll get a commission from a Deem at least. It's only 10 seconds, so... And again, no rituals to conduct at the moment, so we'll just carry on at the Institute. Oh, what else did we have here? Your UI complaint is that when you collect all Spinitra doesn't stack. Oh, really? I did not know that. We need a glimmering, but we are we're sort of two notches on the path, so... Alright, so they want secret histories, I can definitely accommodate that. What season's coming up next? Okay, we're safe, so I'm gonna get at least Jannings, maybe Poppy next. I don't want to waste this individual, but I do have some time. Jannings wants Edge, which I can satisfy. These are all fairly low level. And I am, Poppy says with a girlish giggle, curious about, oh, you know, the arts of blood and ice. It's silly, but allow an old woman her whims. Will you help me? This usually winds up being winter, but... Also known as holding a token in a slot, makes its timer not tick down. Is that intended? So my understanding was that if you... Oh, it's knock. Okay. We should be able to accommodate that. So my understanding is if you do something like this is still going to knock down... Like... Oh, you're right. It doesn't. I mean, I know they have put some effort to stop that kind of stuff from happening, but... You're right. I do know. So if you paint with something, it makes it last longer, and they actually directly reference it in the game, saying that perhaps I can keep this creature in this world for longer. But like this idea, like if I wanted to keep my Swindler in, I could just do this. It's intended in the sense that I'm sure they know about it because they have tried to remove exploits like that in the past, but I'm not sure why it's present in this particular form. So there might be something else going on, or it might be something that gets patched out later. Well, you can't, if you talk about like, so I couldn't do like hold down shift and get reason and passion, but if you want to take a stack, you can just click on the number and do that. The Eyes of Sin, always lovely to see you. How are you doing, my friend? When we open a thing, when we learn its nature, I've deepened my understanding of the lore that opens, which we call by its aspect knock. To open certain ways, one must first open oneself. This practice outlines that opening. In the name of the Mother of Ants, nearly every summoning rate requires knock influence. This lore will provide it. Now, here is a spectacular example of where somebody will do well in Cultist Simulator and where somebody might get lost. On the contrary, it's totally fine to slap your voiceless dead dude into the talk verb and let it tick around for a minute and have him not expired. Yeah, I mean, Nubandius, if you... I don't encourage you to go back and look at my older streams on YouTube, but if you look at some of the stuff that I was doing in the... And the alpha, it was shameful. I did every trick I could to make stuff last longer, and every single trick was patched out. So, if as long as the game permits it, it goes in my view. So, yeah. Well, this is the great example. So, I'm going to read this again, and what I'll encourage, especially if you're watching, I do encourage. So again, I take my time on doing a playthrough, but I also encourage you guys to participate, actively participate. So we do have some problems that are going on, and real life intervenes either in the form of somebody like chat, or there are other things in this game that will distract you, right? There's plenty of timers going down, and there's a reason you manually have to keep going to work. And there've been plenty of times where I've missed out on stuff because I was distracted. And again, all of this stuff, that's not what happens in real life. It's something I think is really cool about how you live this game, even though it's abstracted to a series of cards. So if you look at it this way, you can just say, oh yeah, Alexis Kennedy, good old writer guy, him and his English words, wish I could write like that. Let's read some more pretty words. To open certain ways, one must first open oneself. This practice outlines that opening in the name of the mother of ants. Nearly every and then the description text. So you're like, okay, hang on, there's something that we should know here. Now, if you don't remember where that comes from, that's fine. But stag door's riddle: what must open before this way opens? Answer the riddle to pass the stag door and be accounted a no. Now, technically, I actually haven't had to solve this one before, but to open certain ways, one must first open oneself. Does that sound like an acceptable answer to that riddle? Yeah. So I'm gonna be trying with that. I will also let you know, I'm not going to tell you specifically when this encounters, but it mentions the mother of ants. And there's a point where it actually asks you to identify the aspect of the mother of ants. If you read the lore in this game, that is not a hard problem to solve. But again, whether I get distracted by chat or whether, which is wonderful, by the way. I like it when I have an active chat to reply to. But there's so many things that are drawing your attention, whether it's while you're playing the game privately, the timer's going down, or if you're streaming the game, you want to interact with people like that. There's lots of things to draw your attention to the wrong place, and that's by design. And that's one of the reasons why I say, it's not just that you want to read lore, but you want to reread lore. Because if you go on that expedition and you find out that, oh, I don't remember the mother of ants thing. Oh, God. Oh, I don't have that lore anymore. What am I going to do? Now you know what to look for. Something that says, oh, Booty Freak 9001, out of the other 9,000 Booty Freaks that came before you, you are still the most precious Booty Freak to me. Thank you very much for this. And Noobandius, thank you very much for that follow too. Is there still a feature that allows you to hold on to things like Mystic to keep it from being sucked into certain verbs, like when you're being investigated? I believe that's been patched out, but I never used that exploit myself, so I couldn't tell you for sure. I just lost my USB key. Oh, there we go. So yeah, with that in mind, again, if you ever feel lost, one of the ways you can get unlost is to read the lore and reread the lore, because when you read one bit of lore and you haven't run into a puzzle yet, you're not going to say, that sounds like that might be important later. I'm going to make a note. But when you encounter it later on, now you know to look. And you might realize that, there's stuff that happens in the Mansis that gives you a really good idea of where you're supposed to go. There are books that tell you how you can get to the next level of the Mansis if you're stuck on that. The game, in my personal opinion, I think the game might have been able to go without the square brackets if it had another way of encouraging you and telling you, if you read this text here, there will be information that you need. But I think this is a great compromise solution because it's still encouraging you to read. And once you stop seeing the square brackets, it tells you to, in this case, you're sort of on your own and you've already learned to read the stuff anyway. So you're on your way to, how do I put this? you know, like either you're going to read it or you're not. Like if you've gotten this far reading things and then all of a sudden you stop reading, like that's kind of on you. I don't really think you can blame Weather Factory for that. Okay, I think I'm gonna move up my Grail lore. No specific reason other than the fact I can, and we'll carry on. You remember watching people do it and they justified it as holding information. Yeah, I mean, again, my view is usually if the game allows you to do it, you can do it, but I'm not a purist about this thing by any means. Can't upgrade anyone. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't have gone to work. I should have done my commissions and talking with people. Well, let's talk about lore. Forgotten Chronicles. Get them while they're hot. It's like a puzzle game in that you're... Yeah, exactly. And again, there's just something really... Oh, damn it. I screwed up big time. I was supposed to take the experienced swindler to take out the evidence. So, can't rehire the experienced swindler, unfortunately, but I will be able to use the hulking fellow on Wakefield. So let's search the city again, because I am a bonehead. Rambler 146, thank you very much for that auto host. If you guys don't know, Rambler, actually Captain Zerge was mentioning Hearts of Iron 4. If you are a Paradox fan, and if you're not a Paradox fan, do know that the designer of this game did work on Stellaris in the form of the Horizon signal. You can't send people to you can't send hirelings to explore. All right, we are, however, going to get that riddle answered now. So, in my dream, I stand again before the stag door, a ridged barrier of blood-streaked horn, broken long ago, but not quite healed. That vast and golden-head Girby, who will wait the answer to my riddle. A serpent's answer. I myself must be opened. Behold my blood which is shed. But yeah, so basically, I'm actually not too worried about that. I mean, it sucks that happened, but again, in my view, there shouldn't be perfect playthroughs of games. Like, it's fun when stuff goes wrong. It's fun when I create a problem for myself and need to get over it. So, but yeah, for those of you who do like the Paradox stuff, Alex the Rambler is somebody who gets invited to do Paradox's special events. He was a member of the team that did the what was it? The YouTuber event that they did, like the versus everything thing. So he's a ton of fun to watch, and he's somebody I met in Vancouver at a bar called EXP, which sadly closed a couple of days ago. So, but wonderful guy, and definitely somebody I can recommend because he does this professionally. CK2 is the easiest Paradox. Really? I think Stellaris is personally. CK2, I think the best way of summarizing it, in my opinion, is hard to learn, easy to master. Speaking of Horizon Signal, finally had to have it pop up in your paranoid Warhammer 40k umpires. The answer is always do the weird option whenever you get the Horizon Signal. Actually, you know, it's funny. So there's a lot of reasons why I like Paradox games. There's a lot of reasons why I like Cultist Simulator, but I actually think they're there's a couple of similarities. I'm gonna lose my hulking fellow too. That's such a shame. But the good news is I got another one coming up. So, okay. Well, I'm at least gonna be able to spook Wakefield. So. Of course, the season of suspicion is coming up, so I'm gonna have to plan this out a little bit, but I think I can navigate it well. So we'll send our pawn out again. But yeah, so one of the things that I think would be a similarity between people who play Cultist Simulator and play Stellaris and things like that is that the Paradox games are very complicated. The the payoff is basically, oh man, so if I'm close, I'm going to be able to use this hulking fellow. I'm totally going to go for it. Damn it! Okay, so I can go for a Forgotten Chronicle, which I have a lot of, so let's go up the Ascent of Knives. And we get a Furious Air. Anger is implicit in every shape, a 10th order influence, a gathering knot of power and peril. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Of the place my dreams took me last night, this has been written. The ascent is glass, and the walls are knives. Each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great. When I woke, the pain remained with me, a pain that I could employ to occult purposes, if I hurry. And we've now got the way through the stag door. So I'm just going to adjust my Mantis stack a little bit. But yeah, so the thing about Paradox games are that they give you a lot of information, and part of the game is identifying what bits of information that you need to focus on at the moment. And one of the reasons why Paradox games have been getting better is that their UIs have been getting better, which means that like, the part of the game is not like learning how to look at the game anymore. Part of the game is just experiencing the game. Madame Bichet, pleasure to meet you. So Mystique will delay the... Oh, hang on. Nah, I'm still gonna do it. But yeah, so part of learning a Paradox game is just learning how to manage the information that you've been given, and it's similar to it's sort of similar to it's similar to Cultist Simulator. Like the Horizons. Actually, this is one of the things that came up in the interview. I said, is like, I played the Horizon Signal, and you have Cultist Simulator, and the confusion you as the player is experiencing is the same as what what your character is. There's no cults for dummies. There's no the Mantis for dummies. You need to use these things that people have written down and these little hints at a world beyond and your insights from your dreams to be able to figure out what's happening. But one of the things that really interested me about the Horizon Signal event is that there is actually an event or a moment in the game where you'll be looking at a planet and you'll say, hang on, there's a couple of people, like, there's somebody, this actually is probably going to burn me now that I think of it. Oh well, made my decision. So yeah, there's this moment in the game where you're like, hang on, there's more people there than I thought there was. And you're like, it's probably nothing. Because there's a whole bunch of other things that are pulling your attention away. And the game exploits that. And it actually says that, it turns out there's more people on this planet than was expected, and we can't identify why. So it's really clear that the kinds of things that make Cultist Simulator work were actually present within the within like some of the stuff that was going on during the Ronin year. So, a game that you haven't heard about for a while, No Man's Sky. Whatever happened after the whole developer issues and patch update? I believe there's a new update coming out. We hosted a guy called K5RTO last night who does a lot of No Man's Sky, and apparently they're getting really excited for the next patch. So, in my dreams, I know the path to the stag door through the maze of the bounds. Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason. All right. So the reason that this might burn me is that in 60 seconds, I'm going to try and murder the hunter, but there's a 16-second countdown for the Season of Suspicion. So if it takes longer than a minute, I have a feeling that Wakefield's going to escape and have a fresh batch of notoriety for me to contend with. So in this case, I'm just going to hire a succession of assassins to deal with him. Wrong kind of attention. An adversary? Well, I do have some Mystique, which is going to pop up. I am safe for now. The meddler's attention must be elsewhere. A relief. Excellent. Lessons of experience. This time my research has failed, but I've learnt the lessons of experience. Again, just gonna run through that. I don't think there's anything I can do with the Furious Air, but we'll take a quick look. So I would probably want the Sunset Rite for this. We'll give the offering. Good old Neville will be my assistant. And invocation. No, Neville, you don't need to be my assistant. Well, Slee is a little... yeah. But I bet I can get a Voiceless Dead. Ooh, infuse a corpse. Sadly, I can't, but... very little knock and edge. A significant intensity of winter, so apparently that's more than 6. Okay. I don't think I can make this work. But I think if I have a heart... I'll slightly adjust the formula. And consent of wounds. Yeah, significant intensity of heart, which I don't have. I don't think I have the right combination to get anything exciting done with this edge, so as much as I would love to use it, I think the season will pass. Alright, Yorkshire Bastard, happy 4th of July yourself. The more relevant holiday for me, of course, was the 1st of July, which is Canada Day, but, I'm going to take the fact that I'm away from the Institute to get some secret histories written. I think I just need, just a basic level, and we'll chuck a reason in there because we're good at our job. But I guess we can give the Americans a little respect here as well. Had fireworks near, and your dogs are going nuts. Yeah, I'm sorry for your dogs. I know it's always a little unpleasant holiday-wise. And you bought EU4 like 2 years ago. You played it for an hour. Your head hurts so much. The information overload. It hasn't played since. I will say that EU4 of the main historical games is probably the one I return to the most. And I found it the hardest to get into out of CK2, but it is, in my opinion, it is really worth the time if you're interested in that time period. And the big important thing, I love the Dutch Republic. Everything about it, just everything about Holland is just mwah. So that's the big thing for me, is that the Paradox game you should get is the one that will speak to you in a special way. Like something that you have enough personal interest in. So if you're fascinated with World War II, you don't need me to tell you to get Hearts of Iron 4. And your interest in that subject will push you through the learning of the rules. That's basically how that works, in my opinion. Subtle Rupture. Geometry contorts. Doors burst open. Snakes boil from the earth. A 10th order influence. A gathering knot of power and peril. This can be used in some rites to summoning demons. Okay, so we might be able to do a little bit more with this. In sleep, I ran my fingers along the rigid edges of the stag door's scars. Our company, it was... sorry. Oh, no! Okay, we've got it still. Our company it was that shattered it, Girby says suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the Mansus was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. I've forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the stag door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. So, I've got a ridiculous amount of reasons, so I'm pretty much just going to set aside one to constantly go inside the... go inside the stag door. Let's see what's happened here. So, my minion is not returned, they must have failed. That's fine. Wakefield, let's have a chat. Perhaps we could parley. Perhaps I could send someone something to ambush them. I'm gonna run out on the hulking fellow, but we'll give it a shot. I mean, if I get another notoriety, I get another notoriety. Unless the dread event comes, and then I'm really gonna feel bad. So You're getting a little bit better at not dying every 8 seconds in Battlefield 1, so that's good. I just saw you quit it, actually. How's this playthrough going? Not bad. I think you were here for... I don't know if you were here for the person complaining that I'm too slow in the game. They're not even wrong. It's just, you know how I stream games. But other than that, I'm making some decent progress. We solved the riddle, and I'm about to employ some dirty tricks to try and deal with this hunter. We're trying to kill him at the moment, but I'm gonna try and spook him next. I feel like your main strategy these days is to pump lore into talk to get followers. Spend all your money buying out the bookshop for the auction house while attending your job constantly, then switching to commissions and selling Speedra. Yeah, I don't really do as many commissions as I should. But what you've described, so I've already taken care of Oriflammes and the bookshop. So someone said I was talking too much, just wondering if they ever watched this. No, I think they were new, but it was the person who said, I don't think they're here anymore, but it was the person who said, yes, I love sitting by and watching you not know what you're supposed to do or something. It wasn't exactly that mean, but it's like, basically, I know what you're supposed to do, but I'm not going to tell you. Yes, it's very important that people know that. And I mean, so like to their credit, like it wasn't particularly unpleasant. They did, try and offer the olive branch in the sense of saying like not to be rude, but you need to learn to talk and play the game. The thing is though, is like that is a rude thing to say. Like, I could say not to be rude, Johnny, but like you're an asshole. You're not going to feel better about what I just said. So I mean, they can stick again. Like people can stick around. I'm fine with that. But like it's not. Like to me, it's not one of those things that is really. It's not really one of those things that gives me a lot of information. Like I know that my stream is not for everyone, and there are definitely people who dig it. And, that makes me feel good. But I also understand if somebody doesn't want to, to hang around. And it's totally fine. Like, I would prefer it if people found what works for them. It's one of the reasons why I usually don't, like, tell people, well, I'm leaving this channel. I think it's bad. I just kind of usually go my own way. But, I mean, again, like, it's not... They're not wrong. Like, I do talk a lot. Here we go. Okay, summon a sharp-edged lantern thing. A hint was once a living mortal and then a dead one, and now it's something else. Their summoning requires lantern for the light which drew them to the mantis, and the edge for the striving that they've endured in mirrors. But again, it's one of these things where it's like, the personality comes across. The personality comes across in the stream, and I am fairly talkative in person. Johnny can tell you that. I've kept him from going to bed many a gaming night. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes people just like to listen to what I have to say. But I'm definitely not good for people who just want to see gameplay. And it's something I'd like to maybe get a little bit better at, but not at the expense of like drilling down and focusing on. Like the thing is, especially for Cultist Simulator, one of the reasons why I'll like stop and talk like this is that I don't think there's any value in doing something like this and then not reading what comes as a result. So I can finish the thought. Like, so again, I guess I'll put it to you this way. I am not oblivious to the fact that this is something that turns people off from the cast. So hi YouTube, this is going to be another one of these things where I'm responding to stuff in chat that doesn't make any sense. But thank you for watching to this point. I figure if you've watched this far, then you're going to endure another chat if you really want. But if you heard this particular line, feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you really think. If it's mean, I'll delete it. But yeah, so like, if you guys wanted to learn a little bit about how streaming works behind the scenes for me, I face a dilemma in the fact that I relate a lot to this game, and there are personal experiences that I can give that I share. But on the other hand, there's only so many times I can talk about, trying to piece together things from textbooks to be able to do an empirical project. Like, you guys get it. I have a degree. Good for me, right? There's a certain point where that just becomes tedious. But again, like the personal stuff is something that matters to especially regulars, and regulars matter a lot to me because I don't like this idea of building a cast and assuming that a follower is somebody who's just forever going to keep showing up no matter what you do, so then you just focus on the acquisition of new people. So the things that interest me in casting and the things that interest me in terms of games is talking about either things I'm interested in or things I personally relate to as a vehicle through which I can describe the game. Now, the dilemma is that Cultist Simulator has good writing, and it's important that you pay attention. So, for instance, Forbidden Epic. The attention of the hours is drawn to the bloodiest wars. Afterwards, the histories are braided like hair. Exploring with a scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations in the land beyond the forest, across the continent. Now, I could have continued that whole thought that I had by doing this. And, maybe I'd just take the cards away, I'd hit collect all, and I wouldn't read that. But you're not playing Cultist Simulator when you do that. You actually want to read what's going on here because that will give you guidance in terms of what your next line is. So, if you've been a long-term viewer, you'll actually notice that when I play something like Wolfenstein, I usually don't stop the game. If it requires me, like if there's a really intense fight coming up, I'll usually wait before the moment. But I tend not to walk around or not play the game a lot. For Cultist Simulator, I pause and I talk a lot, because time that I talk about things that are offshoots from the discussion that's happening while we do Cultist Simulator is I want to focus on that, or I want to focus on the game because I really like the game and I don't want it to be again, we've said so many times, the experience of Cultist Simulator is not clicking and dragging cards all over the place. The game is not as impressive if you're only focusing on that. So it's a little bit like on Stellaris. Stellaris, I always get people, it's you can just click the explore button as you go through. It's yes, I've been told that so many times, but the reason why I do the right mouse button each time is that it's clearer to somebody who's watching, who wants to learn the game, exactly the action I'm doing, rather than me saying, okay, I'm hitting the explore button now, I'm hitting the explore button now, so on and so forth. So if I seem like I'm really frustrated when people talk that way to me, it's usually because I don't feel like there's a lot of value in me constantly justifying every decision. So in one sense, I feel like I don't need to justify the decisions that I make on my cast because it's my cast. But in another sense, I don't think there's a lot of value in doing that. I think that it's better just to try and put on the best show that I can to something that'll entertain me and hopefully entertain you guys. And there are probably more conscious decisions that are made than a casual viewer will appreciate. And I don't necessarily, it's like going into a movie and coming out and you're like, what did you think? It's oh, I didn't care for it that much. And then your friend tells you, it's well, you just don't get it, man. Obviously, if somebody doesn't dig my stuff and it's because I spend too much time doing digressions like this, I failed to entertain that person. And I feel a little bit bad about that because, I don't want to waste somebody's time. But again, the nice thing about Cultist, if you go on YouTube, I'm definitely not the biggest, view count for that game anymore. There are better casters and people who are dedicated to being broadcasters who do that now. And that's a good thing because it means that more people will become aware of this game, and that means there's more support for Weather Factory and there's more people to talk about it. But on the other hand, I'm not just learning how to cast now too. There are a few more conscious decisions than are going through, and part of my job is to try and take feedback you need to play the game more and try and say, okay, so what are some ways that I can convey personality and convey things that come up in the moment of chat while still trying to keep things going. And again, you'll notice that I always try and steer the shit back to Cultist Simulator. Sometimes we just talk about streaming like I am right now, but there's a little bit of an inside and some inside ball for you guys if you're interested. And sorry, I've got a few chat things to say here. So your arguments are invalid. Who is from Kilgore's chat? I've only ever seen Kilgore tell him to stop using so many puns. Yeah, I mean, well, in fairness, Kilgore put. Okay, so if anybody is allowed to complain about my conduct, and if anybody's allowed to be a complete ass in my stream, it is Kilgore Trout, because I am very poorly behaved in his channel, and he is such a good sport about it. That is a guy, by the way, let me just take a second here and give him a proper... I won't give him, like, the full... I won't give him, like, the full description shout-out, but there is a link you should be clicking on and following, because that guy is a national treasure, and partnered recently, too. And yeah, John, at least you did not mean to be rude. It's one thing to have a specific criticism of something one does. It's an entirely different thing to criticize what they are. And there's a difference between watching you people play the game versus interacting. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not particularly mad at that guy. Like, I more or less said my view, which is like, well, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not being rude if you say not to be rude. It's feedback, and it's one that I can't action as much. And I don't feel bad. I mean, if you're still here, you know, hopefully we understand each other a little bit better, but I don't think he is. And it's, in my opinion, it is better for people to find casts that they like faster than... Like, I definitely had the time when I tried to appeal to everyone. I had a time when I would do every suggestion that people had when they backseated me, and what happened was people got mad when it didn't work and quit anyway. So I'm just like, there's no pleasing these people. So I just got a little more confident, and I moved on. Oh, there's a typo in the link? Sorry, Captain Zerge. Let me just... Sorry, I do want to take the time to get Kilgore's channel right, so just let me take a quick second here. Kilgore...
Way I know I'll be able to get some work.
Oh, Killor. There we go. He's actually streaming right now, so if I'm boring you, definitely check him out. And everyone who stayed from Loveless stream, thank you. You're really tolerant. You've probably already seen Kilgore, but if you're getting bored, he's someone who can definitely help you. Okay, there is a great chamber in the Mansis through which the painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails and flecks of gold leaf when I was done. I did not know that the vagabond was a she, so I learned something today. All right. I'm gonna use the dread. So I'm awaiting word. It's probably not gonna work, and season of ambitions coming up. So ideally, this time the research has failed. Yep. Carry on. Oh, hello. The hulking fellow did his job. My minion is returned with a trophy. So I've actually got some fairly decent edge here, so maybe I can take a quick visit to Strathcoins. No, I can't, because this hulking fellow will be gone. No, let's have a quick chat with you. I will pay you for another round. No, damn it! Oh, that's right, I don't need the dread anymore. So if I can raise this corpse, so much the better. Probably not. Season of suspicion, so somebody else is probably going to be coming after me. But yeah, if I can swing it, I'm going to try and... I will add the shifty woman just in case I need moth. I don't think I will. But yeah, we're going to take a quick trip to Strathcoins, and I'm going to put all the edge followers up first, so we can get rid of the baddies. Okay, so the bomb may... Well, I'm going to need to wait 26 seconds, but we'll go on. I'll invest one funds... Well, no, I'll do two. Mr. Strathcoin has forbidden entry to his library. Unfortunate. Let's see what we can do. Expeditions need at least one funds per obstacle. Followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. So the nice thing about this is that if I fail at the moment, I'm only going to lose people I've paid for. Now that you have the stag door, can you upgrade your desire further? I can, I'm just not. Mr. Strathcoin has forbidden entry to his library. Oh, yeah, sorry, we've already got that. And for those, if any of you saw my Juan Carlos Williams, William Carlos Williams poem, you will know why. Sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke, but I actually really like that post. Summoning a rebellious spirit. The summoning is struggling against my control. I could use reason to dismiss it safely, which is always reliable. I could try to reassert control with passion, which is not reliable, or I could let what will happen happen. We're totally contending for mastery here. The things from outside the world have many weapons: knives, riddles, fire, and despair. I have weapons of my own. This will usually, but not always, work. So if I can get the hint into the expedition, that will be a bit of a coup. Let's go to the Painted River again. All right, so we just did this, so I'll skip it for now. I think I'll go through the Stag Door again. So I don't think I have enough. Yeah. In dreams, the silken sands are the place that whispers. Gray grains sift, gray weeds quiver. I know the words that open the wind. So I need to upgrade my lore, but we'll start once we start properly exploring. We'll get some of that. But for now, I will keep on. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass through it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Alright, the expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. Alright, so the worst thing is that, well, we'll see what happens with the hint. City is rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long will they leave me in peace? I might be able to deal with this restlessness. We'll see. Oh, but what I do want to do is take the unflinching order and... Ah, my bad. I don't have anything to upgrade someone with yet. So let's chat about lore. My summoning will obey my wishes for now. Okay, so the passion's back. Rose is back with her edge. I have a hint. I have an unmerciful tale. And the sunset right's back. So I'm going to add the hint mostly because I want this thing to last as long as possible. Watchers will regret standing against us. Oh, I should be doing work. So I can do another summoning. I actually don't remember all the summon. This is probably the point where I should start taking more notes during the game. I think if there's Moth and Grail, you can do something with that. You know what? Let's just see what else there is. So the Ascent of Night. Okay, Furious Air. We've read this before. On the place the dreams took me last night, it's been written, the ascent is glass, the walls are knives, and each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great, and when I woke, that pain remained with me, a pain that I could employ for occult purposes if I hurry. Connie Lee! There's always someone who doesn't understand or who understands too well. This troublemaker may seek evidence on my activities to share with the authorities. The heiress, suffragist, and adventurer. She's recently put her chaotic enthusiasms to considerable wealth at the service of the Suppression Bureau. So this is the one person that I don't want to have the hint go after. She is tenacious. She is a mystic. This hunter will usually survive attacks from creatures of the Mansis, even if those attacks would otherwise be unstoppable. So I am going to need to scare her, or I'm going to need to fascinate her. And I have a feeling that scaring is the better path. Treasures lie before us. Their blood pumps bright and then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. Okay, come with me. Oh, I should probably go back through the gate. I will take I think I was actually able to get a voiceless dead now that I think of it. So do a quick sunset right and so go for wind. Oh, that's going to be edge. So nope, that's going to be for the maid in the mirror. Clavette. It's creature the Thunderskin. Oh right, it's the edge that's throwing me off here. I feel like this game has a very comfortable dark tone that really resonates. Yeah, I mean, it's not for nothing that everybody comments on the rating in it, because it's like there's a few things. I mean, one of the things I actually like about it is I like the sense of humor that the game has, and I sometimes feel like that doesn't get appreciated enough in the game, and it's understandable why, because some of it is like, oh my god, did this really happen? Sort of responses, but it is like, I don't know. I sometimes want to say to people, it's like it's okay to laugh. You're allowed to. So this would be for another hint. If I wanted. It's not obvious what the hint would give me though. I'm pretty sure if I put the forge... Okay, no. I'm just gonna quickly iterate over each of these just to see. Okay, so hint, edge and edge doesn't give me anything. Thunderskin, sun and rags. Oh, I've never tried moth. Okay, good to know. Maybe the mantis, it makes me want to learn how to lucid dream. Maybe the mantis is real. Well, I mean, there's this whole other game that I've been alluding to, which maybe contained in that are the secrets on how to access the mantis. Oh man, could you imagine the Christopher Nolan adaptation of Cultist Simulator? That'd be something else. Okay, Strathcoin's treasures out into the night. We escape unseen, but the next day there are reports of a fire at Strathcoin's. Did someone knock a live coal on the hearthrug, or did Strathcoin destroy the place himself as part of some larger scheme? Well, some money, some notoriety, can't be avoided. Get my hulking fellow back. I'll take my hint, take my shifty woman, which I don't need anymore, my bomb maker. And we've got the Tantra of Worms, so I finally get to use my Sanskrit. The entomologist Juliana Zwitkowski eventually came to instill that this text was written by insects inhabiting the human skin. She never presented evidence for her claim. Is that what you were looking for, Green Whisper? Subtitled Stories from Behind the Walls, the Wainscot Histories. The miscellany of non-traditional histories compiled by William Gore includes battles not generally acknowledged and countries which appear on no map, told in a playful, apparently fictional manner. So that's English. Got the Piebald Pigment. So one of the things I wanted to do on this playthrough was actually do a better job with painting. And finally, we've got the Cinnabar Amulet. That is really good news for me. That's going to help me with... it's not going to help me so much with summonings, but boy, is this going to help my recruitment efforts. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Green Whisper. I mean, again, like, I know... I get it when people want... I think we'll do the Forgotten Reach because I think there's some angry people there too. So we'll take the Bomb Maker first. I kind of get it when people want want a serious playthrough of like a game that they really enjoy. But it is kind of fun to hang out and just do silly things every once in a while, or often. The law does not touch this decaying fringe of the city. The mud here has claimed many lives, and there will no doubt be some wretched criminals or other layering in this warehouse. Expeditions will need at least 1 funds per obstacle, and followers will defeat obstacles. If you run out of funds or followers, the expedition ends. I'm glad, Green Whisper. I do appreciate that. I know it's always nice, so it's, it's not very surprising. I like it when people say nice things, and I don't like it when people don't say nice things, but it helps more than you can appreciate, I think, to know that people like the stuff. I am gonna get sick. I think I'm gonna give up on my my upgrade wishes after this, just to read these books. But thank you, Ego. I'm glad to hear it, Green Whisper 1213. As I'm fond of saying, of all 1,213 Green Whispers, you are clearly the most important to me now. Yeah, and look, there are people who I can remember who used to be really big fans of the cast when I was first starting out, and my hours changed a little bit, and I don't really perceive how I changed as a caster, but I clearly did. And, it was, look, it sucks to see people go away, and you never kind of know what like the last cast and all of that is, but I understand better than I think some people know. Like, I don't really know if anyone does formally say to a caster, it's like, it's not my thing anymore, right? But what matters is that people like be entertained. Like, there's no other point of being on this web. Nobody, like, at least at my level, nobody's getting rich doing this. It's about enjoyment, and if it's not fun to watch anymore, people change, and it's a matter of finding out what works well. So, but it's always cool when there's a new follower. Like I said, I don't actively go out of my way to like just say, okay, now that I got you guys locked away in my follows, let's try and get some more. But we were talking about sort of this unofficial goal that I'd set for myself, which was originally unrealistic, of 2,000 followers by the end of 2018. And we're at 1946, so 54 more, and I need to come up with some fancy things. Actually, if Kite260 is still here, he knows what I did for my 1,000 follow event, and that was a really fun time. All right. An urgency of appetite. It is difficult to control oneself. A 6th order influence, significant resonances and correspondences. This can be used in some rites, some in minions. Cool, so I'm actually going to use that in a rite more or less right away. So the Ascent of Knives is called the Sharp Stare and the Mother of Mirrors and the Feast of the Grail. If one is to look beneath the stare, as I did last night in my dreams, one understands that last name. It draws a tithe of blood from the feet of those who ascend. And Pausai, some of them shaped like men, many shaped like women, wait beneath the glass of the stairs to satisfy their hunger. I do not approach, I made no sound, I only observed. Yeah, so Kite, you know what's going on. I am definitely gonna need to. Kite, you devilishly handsome man, you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. As I said, I mean, you already heard all the nice things I said about Kite, so everything I said before, but double it, because he made it rain. I really appreciate that, Kite. Again, I am a big fan, so that's usually sufficient. You've done a lot to entertain me. And I definitely know I'm not subbed to you, which makes me feel a little guilty. Although I believe you haven't enabled your sub button, so I can't feel too guilty. But it means, again, it means a lot. And yeah, Green Whisper, look, I'm going to be totally honest. Like, I do this for fun. It is super cool when people sub, because look, there's a cost that I bear for this, and it was a surplus before. It's turned into a deficit now, but I'm not going to stop casting because of that. It means a lot when people do go that extra mile, and the Eyes of Sin, if she's still in the channel, is actually the one who gave these fine emotes. I'll put all 3 of them in chat here. There was that point when people were subscribing even though I didn't have emotes, that I wanted to do right by them and make sure that I had something to sort of reward. Sorry, I'm losing the plot. I did want to do a little something to reward people who were doing that. But honestly, if you guys ever want to know how you can support casters, financially is always good, but here's the thing: the money you use to go to a sub or buy a game or any of these things, it represents your time. And I know I got my start on Twitch when I was in school, so it's not exactly like I was independently wealthy and had the options of it. I was okay, like I could afford to live in Vancouver, but it wasn't something I wanted to dedicate too much to. The ways you can help streamers. So streams get ranked based on concurrent viewers. So if you hang out in a stream, you're already helping it by moving it up the ranks. If you think you know somebody who likes the stream, recommending it to people, retweeting it, whatever else you do, whatever contact. I mean, we're all really just looking for a chance to entertain people, and it's not always going to hit, but when it does hit, we feel good. The monetary aspect, I feel like I'm definitely not someone who says it's irrelevant, because I think more casters should feel comfortable soliciting payment, especially if they want to make a living for it, but I'm not someone who does that. My ideal would be to cover my costs, and again, chat's been pretty generous over the years, so like it's sort of leveling out. I mean, I have this computer because of chat. But honestly, being there, being active in chat, letting people know about it, these are some of the best things you can do to keep a cast alive. Because, I mean, we're all people. Like, sometimes it sucks not to hear a nice thing about the cast over a week. I mean, like, I remember a time when the only stuff I would hear on YouTube would be, like, from my Battlefield videos, and people would just tell me that I was an idiot for not having immediate command of T. Lawrence's history. Didn't make me feel great. I knew where it was coming from. I didn't go to my room and cry about it. But it's nice to know you're appreciated, I think, is where I'm going with it. Well, you know what, Green Whisper? That's fine. I'm probably going to be spending my birthday that way too. So mine's on the 15th. So that is cool that we get a chance to share the time together. So but again, like, hanging out, it's all we need. And it's been great to have you in the chat, so I definitely appreciate that. All right, perhaps we could parlay, or perhaps I could send something to ambush them. So I'm tempted to use the hulking fellow, but I'm actually going to start by spooking her first. So describe the horrors awaiting the adversary. Something to think about every time you close your eyes. This might terrify the hunter, but it will always increase your own dread. I'm actually going to so I don't like brute forcing stuff, but I'm mildly curious. So I kind of want to see what so hint of the glorious lore, kind of gathered that. I was wondering if there was a way to invoke Oh, this is what I was trying to do. Let us speak of endings. Let's speak of the declining sun. Let's speak of things that aren't quite dead and won't die. This might terrify the hunter, but it will always increase your own dread. Cool. I've got another bit of ammunition. I was wondering if there was some lore that would do that. And now I know. I don't know if it's better than using the dread itself. see. Okay, the expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. We can add funds now, or I could send another follower. In this case, I'm going to throw the hulking fellow in because I'd like to preserve their... Oh, that's funny. I was the opposite. So I always used to use the glorious lore to fascinate them. But the winter lore, and actually, so now that I know about the winter lore, I've got a more direct way of getting dread. So this was a very productive cast for me today. May not have been productive to you. Welcome, by the way, if you got to the end of the video. Well, it's probably not the end of the video yet, but, you know, hi. But yeah, I've learned a couple of... I've never seen Sabia do that. That's really cool. But yeah, I've got a couple of plans about what I'm going to do to solve some of these. So I'm not as worried about the treacherous ground if it comes up. I have the bomb maker, and again, everything here is something expendable. And in the worst case, you know, the best case is I get an opportunity to put Laidlaw on the path to dealing with the treacherous ground. If not, actually, I guess it should be Tristan, because Tristan's got level 5 forge. But either way, we'll overcome this obstacle before too long. Here's to being together and alone. You've at least 4 things. Yeah, the cycle thing's a bit of a game changer. I mean, obviously, it's taken me a while to get to the sickness part, but it's super helpful. Okay, I actually want to try... I want to see if I can get another summon out here. So let's see what happens when I chuck Neville in here, and I'm not feeling good. Oh, cool. A little moth for its chaos addiction. Okay, I'm mildly... I don't think this is going to change anything. But if I bring in the consent of wounds and porter... Yeah, okay. Raw Prophet's pretty cool. Grail for the Raw Prophet source, and a little moth for its chaos addiction. And this will again help me a bit with my expeditions. So one of the things that you should explore more is the strange streets by moonlight. Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons to do it. I think the only catch for me is that whenever I play a game, I will always measure the decisions that I make against my alternatives. And the catch about the strange streets by moonlight is that, so I don't know if this is a recommendation that I can give for balance. And I know that there's sort of working on this by adding more things in other verbs. But let's think a little bit about what each of these verbs can do. So, or specifically, let's take a look at explore. So, explore lets me go on expeditions, which takes a lot of time. Explore will let me go to Moorlands, it'll let me go to Oriflammes, it'll let me go to the Ecdysis Club, it'll let me hire people, it will let me, oh yeah, I use it with the secret histories to find new ones. So where I'm going with all of this is like, explore gives you a lot of things that you can do, and you know, especially through obtaining new items, like going on an expedition to get a new item, or going to Oriflammes to get a new book, like all of those are pretty helpful things to do. So as a result, it's totally understandable that you don't do explore strange streets by moonlight, because usually you have another priority. Maybe you want to get the shifty woman to destroy the evidence, or you want to get, I don't know, you're looking for a hulking bruiser to murder an investigator or something like that. So one of the main reasons why I don't do that exploration is because I just have other alternatives that I want to do at the moment. But you're absolutely right. Like Strange Streets at Night will give you some pretty cool stuff, and then it'll like give you a fascination when you don't want it and enter your playthrough. So Ego and Karen is going to sleep now. Have a nice rest of the stream. Thank you very much for stopping by, Ego. I hope you have a wonderful sleep, and tell us if you make it past the white door. Okay, study-wise, let's start with the Wainscot histories. Gore does not mention the Mansus directly, but a constant coy metaphorical reference to the ascending the staircase of years, to doors of sleep, and to the blue light of dawn suggests that he had commerce with the unseen world. Okay, we'll still wait on the dream, and yes, we will carry on. Call upon the watchman who illuminates. The watchman will lend virtue to our lamps, and they will show us the perils to avoid, probably. Okay, so I've got 8 lantern right now. I can obtain the same lantern with Slee. Okay, I'm actually going to try something here. So I've had Tristan the Disciple, call upon the Madrigard who cannot be unbalanced. We invoke the Madrigard, an hour of forge as well as winter. We'll make our own path through. Success is certain. Okay, so it seems like there are better ways to overcome specific obstacles. That is good to know. I probably could have done a trip to the Mansis now that I think of it, because I forgot that this takes some time to tick down. So I believe we would have gotten 10 forge or 10 lantern, but it said that the lantern was probabilistic, whereas forge was. Okay, safe across treacherous ground. We're mud splattered and thorn scratched, but we've made it through. Don't know, I think we'll lose the shifty woman, but I'm not sad about that. Yes, there are terrible things in the world, but that's more reason to resist them. I should thank you. You've shown me what I must do. The hunter has become an idealist. Well, not great for my dread, but I've got an easy way of fixing that. So there was a specific reason why I did this ordering. So Connie's now become an idealist, so what I can do here is I can have a chat. Let's just take a look what's coming up. Okay, idle times. And now I can hint at the glorious lore, because it's possible that we may give her a searing insight into the world. Oh, summoning a rebellious spirit. Let's add the passion, and hopefully the raw prophet will not drive my people mad. It was common in that time to speak of the division of the sun, by which contemporaries understood the eruption of the barbarian forces and their uncouth gods. Okay, I guess we start translating the Tantra of Worms. Lock the study door, the work begins. I guess I never really did finish the thought about the writing in the game, but our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. I guess I can add another... Couldn't hurt to add another edge. Okay, so we'll pay up for to get better. Next UI request is the ability to shift-click a card and have put it in the first available and appropriate spot. Ooh, incidentally, New Bandits, are you sending these to support at weatherfactory.biz? Because they're really receptive to this kind of stuff. My summoning will obey my wishes for now. Okay, so yay for the raw prophet. Let's get Porter back in his little moth area. I don't think we're getting that pawn back. And consent of wounds goes back here. Okay, I can... So one thing I've been ignoring are my efforts to get Spinitra. Now, I really don't need them anymore because I've got this to upgrade my followers, but I would kind of like to start getting a few more resources like this, so... Carry on. Also, the right of the map's edge scares the shit out of you because it looks like evidence. Vagabond is the only hour that never enters the Mansis. This rite must be performed in the right place and the right time, and the Vagabond will take that rightness for her own. Oh, so I did know it was a she. I just wasn't paying attention. Our strength is matchless. The Watchers will regret standing against us. Good news. Visions of glory. Yes, I could be something finer, but what we are is less important than what we do. The world is where we live, and I will defend it until I die. You can keep your visions. This hunter has become grim. We've bred the bacterial resistant hunter. Oh god. Okay. So I'll be able to deal with these soon enough. I'll add the raw profit just so I can take advantage of the time. And let's get a recruitment drive underway. Because I'm basically, after exploration, I'm going to need to decide, is Connie enough of a problem that I want to eliminate her? Or am I going to Am I going to use these expeditions with all this cool stuff that I have to get through them? I kind of feel like I should be sticking with my existing units, but for now, let's add Alcair to the group. Alcair has a scholarly aspect and a morbid streak. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower, and indeed I shall. Everybody loves telling me how to play this game. Do you see poison on this table, Booty Freak? No. No, so yeah, it is an option, but I'm not going to get poison until I go to the higher levels. So usually what I wind up doing to solve the problem of the hunter, so like notoriety is a manageable problem on its own. So what I usually wind up doing is exploring until I can find the level 5 edge assassin, and then I just manage notoriety, or I manage evidence until I'm able to get out. Because like with the raw prophet, it's an 8 moth, so in this case any evidence that she generates, it's just as easy to blow it up rather than wait for an alternative. So that's usually the reason why I haven't done it. And like for poison, it sometimes can be used as an item, so I try not to give up stuff that will allow me to do other cool things like summonings. But you're absolutely right, Booty Freak. So she's not immune to conventional attacks. She's just got a level. She will survive 1 in 3 of them, I believe. All right, the entomologist Juliana Zwitzowski eventually came to insist that this text was... Oh, it's the same text, so let's study it. The Tantra explains that various less than practical countermeasures against the worms. The serpents, which are not serpents, moth and winter are closest to them, and so to understand their weaknesses, but both have their own perils. The lionsmith crushes them. That is not recommended for mortals. Okay, lionsmith is aspect... Okay, let me... Actually, there's information that's being conveyed here, which I'm not following properly. So, the Tantra explains various less than practical countermeasures against the worms. The serpents, which are not serpents. Moth and winter are closest to them, and so understand their weaknesses, but both have their own perils. Okay, so I had always associated serpents with knock. So there's either a difference with a serpent that's not serpent, or I've misunderstood references to serpents and moth and winter. I mean, moth and winter, the first thing that comes to mind is a voiceless dead. The lionsmith crushes them, but that is not recommended for mortals. So I don't know about the recommendation for mortals. I do know the lionsmith is associated with edge, and I believe that should be something that's specifically associated with high aspect edge, but I don't know if there's a difference there. So Octavian Zero, thank you very much for that auto host. Again, another very generous and partnered streamer. So oh, did I get my health back? Yes, I did. So I can use my dream for getting rid of fascination. Treasure lies before us. Their blood pumps bright and then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. What kind of serpents are you talking about if you're associating serpents with Grail? Sorry, that was a terrible reference. The ceremony requires a searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark all their life. By the way, one thing I should be reading is when they upgrade. So Alcair is quiet, meticulous, and remorseless. So they do actually change their behavior as they move up. For instance, Salbia, who was one of my first disciples, Salbia's pleasures are taken in a room without windows. His companions return to him again and again, even though each time they are a little less. So let me think a bit. With speech, I can either send the hulking fellow after Connie Lee, or I can... I feel like I shouldn't just be ignoring Connie Lee, so I think I will send the hulking fellow after her, which means I will leave the talk open. But once I lose him, I think I'm going to upgrade people to disciple levels, because that'll help me with my expeditions down the road. Okay. And actually, while I have talk open, this will give me a chance to have a chat with Dr. Adim about his secret histories. We can talk to... Oh, we can't talk to Madame Shea, but we can do a substantial treatise on Nock. We'll start getting those coins, which I'm no longer using to upgrade my people, but are still useful in other ways. Thank you for your patronage. I received currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip, so I definitely would like to be focusing on advancing lore if I can. Third UI request, having escape close to... having escape close open verbs and only opening the menu and no verb. Ah, not a bad point. More erudition, more mystique. Hopefully the mystique will let me keep Connie Lee at bay. Poppy... Oh, I'm already working on Poppy's commission, that's right. And Madame Bichet, give me a commission, please. Alright, the worms have always been eager to inhabit us. Here are the practices that make us inhospitable to them. There are diagrams. The diagrams are not good to look upon, and none of the practices they depict would allow the subject to survive. Like every lore has some kind of animal that goes along with it. Some are easy, like moth with moth, dove with winter. Is it dove with winter? Because I've always... so I assess there's the sun and rags, which has an association with winter. The mother of ants is Nock. The lionsmith is Edge. Oh, there was the, it's like the beached crow. I don't remember which one that was. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay. A delayed delivery. The watchers here were guarding crates sealed with thief-signed ribbons. This was not a lawful operation. The owners of the cargo may not be pleased with our meddling. Yeah, well, too bad for them. Okay, let's put Victor back where he belongs. Wait, Victor's Edge, right? Yeah. Tristan is my all-star forge man. Got a hulking fellow, which I think I'm going to send on an assassination mission. A bomb maker, which I'm going to not send on an assassination mission. And my hint, which is going to go straight into the next mission. Okay, so a little bit of money. And we've got the Devoured Tantra. A diplomat priest, Stanislav John Schaller, transcribed this from the library of a Red Long, but his manuscript remains in a private collection in Karisham. This wasn't Karisham? Oh, Invocation of the Ivory Dub. You're right. I believe the sort function is on its way. I don't know how soon, but that is one that I know they made a reference to earlier. Okay, so we're going to send the bomb maker along. One, because we know that we're going to have to deal with hostiles, but number two, because... Oh, actually, they would be able to deal with Connie Lee. Interesting. I think I'm still... Actually, you know what? I'm going to get the gang back together and do this expedition again. Composure. The air is curdled now. I am home again in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. And while I'm waiting, Devoured Tantra gets translation, although I probably should have been using it to upgrade the Mega Legion incantation. And because Connie Lee is going to start sticking her nose into my business, I am going to send the hulking fellow to snuff her out. Alright, Bichet wants Moth, but it's substantial so I can't perform it, and I'm really quickly going to start chatting with Connie. There we go. This game keeps you up at night, you can't even play it. And so I don't know what's contained on this USB drive that I got, but it's possible that there will be some descriptions about the lore going on in this game. But the problem is that I don't want to talk about things that are on the drive, because that is a bonus goal for people who paid for it. Like, I don't want to be the one to devalue that thing that they got, but it'll at least put me to sleep at night. Not that I want to sound too smug. Okay. I don't think there's anything for me to do work-wise, so what? So I will just go back to work because I actually don't have as much money as I thought I did. I will be wrapping up fairly soon, guys. I've run out of water, and I am actually past the 3-hour mark. But again, I know I did a lot of digressions tonight. So I want to try and at least offset that by doing some more time at the end. But I am mortal. And I do need to... I was going to do some other things. I'm probably actually just going to go straight to sleep. But I have been setting off a lot of projects that I've really been wanting to do. And so the way my week actually normally works, I go to work. Work isn't too far away. City's rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long will they leave me until they leave me in, or will they leave me in peace? And right, I need to send my elite forge man a scent of knives. I got very lucky I didn't get that fascination. I guess I could have spiked it with dread, but yeah, so work's not too far away, but I do need to make sure that I'm there and, you know, I'm able to perform. So I'll get out about 6, but, you know, then I head home and hopefully have some dinner. And so I think that's going to be Connie Lee and some notoriety waiting for me. But yeah, so basically that's one of the reasons why the start time is between 7 and 8 Eastern, because depending on how long it takes me to get dinner or just generally get myself sorted out, it may not be something that I can do on short notice. So really what it comes down to is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have about 4 hours where I can get some of my side projects done if I do a full cast. And then it's my weekends, but my weekends sometimes I actually have to do like real life stuff like laundry and things like that. So I'm learning how little time I have and how I'll change it if people want. I should probably change it anyway, but I don't know. I actually debated posting the hours anyway, because like if people are watching the channel, like they usually just follow. Anyways, people find it helpful, so I do it. The Devoured Tantra. The diplomat priest Stanislav John Schaller transcribed this from the Library of the Red Long, but yeah, we already read that, so... The Devoured Tantra warns of the uses and dangers of appetite, but devotes an entire passage to the star-limbed hunger-bringers who it describes with obvious affection. I think they might be talking about this thing. Sometimes it divides, sometimes it unites, sometimes she speaks of words of warning, sometimes he advises on appetite. Its prophecies are confusion, their whispers confound. My minion has not returned, they must have failed. I guess I'll send the bomb maker next. And yeah, I want more dreaming. Johnny, what do you want for your birthday? Oh yeah, I need to upgrade people. Unflinching order. I'm gonna start by upgrading one of each aspect. So my follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen. The stars are his tiny wounds and the sun is a hemorrhage of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. And we'll see what happens to him after I... Oh, that's right. Tristan's gonna get thrown in here. So we invoke the Madrigard, the hour of the forge as well as winter. We will make our own path. Success is certain. And I think we're just going to jump back into the... I mean, it'd be cool to get another raw prophet, but I've got more summons than I can handle right now, so we'll leave it be. What are we looking at? So Dread's coming up, but Dread's already been burned, so we're happy there. And I can talk to Dr. Redeem, but we'll wait on that. Spencer Hobson! Hobson has been a journalist, a private detective, and rather briefly a priest. Now he's an agent of the Suppression Bureau. So he too is mystic. He's erratic. And if I want, I can try and make him crazy, or I can try and hit him with dread, but... The expedition continues, or expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I can send another follower. And in this case, Rose is online to stab these people. Oh, another subtle rupture. Again, I've already summoned everything, so let's go. Gonna head to sleep, sir. Have a good rest of the cast. You'll be in lurk mode. You know what? I'm almost at 3.5 hours, so I think we'll wrap up what we're doing right now, Johnny. But you're not going to miss too much, so I hope you have a wonderful evening. Tell me what you want for your birthday, sir. And, I mean, I can look at your Steam wish list, but I notice you haven't been updating it that much, so... I can buy you some loot boxes. The Painted River runs from a great chamber near the White Door, far through the Mansus to the far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night in a stern-faced captain, with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors yelled a yearning shanty, close-hauled sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed on the secrets of the House of the Sun. Don't think I won't get you the loot boxes, Johnny. A million blazing fires in the belly engulf what has been swallowed by the multiform mouths. Oh, what do you know? It's the Grail. I never would have guessed that. The delightful sacrament. So pleasant upon the ear, one could listen over and over. These are the words that make sacrifice sweet. Use this with Byzantine tinct and moth influence or other resources of equal power to summon a raw prophet. I actually don't think Byzantine tinct works for that, by the way. Okay. I can try and upgrade the Megalesian incantation, or I can try and upgrade an Operation of the Declining Sun. The reason I'm going to do Operation of the Declining Sun is I believe I might be able to advance through the Mansus with Winter, because that worked for the White Door, and we'll see whether or not that can push me further. I am destroyed, I am remade, now I sear my skin, and by these marks I shall be known. I pledge myself to the flame, and I shall not flinch from any remaking. Slee's headaches have become crippling, but his theories grow more practical by the day. His poetry is getting better too. Alright, so that's my advanced lantern follower. I don't think I'm going to do anything to Hobson yet, so let's take my... Oh. We'll get an advanced Neville. Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He is sensitive to deeper matters. If you're ending, you're going to start looking at Paladin stuff for 5th edition. Cool. Let's say we'll wrap up the stream once the expedition is done. So I don't mean to tease you. I mean, for those of you who are veterans here, you know that I have more endings to my stream than the Lord of the Rings, but the movie, not the book. But yeah, I do kind of need to call it, and it's actually past the time that I normally finish, so it's not a bad time to wrap it up. Oop, this notoriety is going to sink me, but that's fine because I got the raw prophet to dispose of the evidence. Whether or not that happens this time, I don't know, but we'll see. Oh, and he's erratic, so we might actually get off the hook. Treasures lie before us. Their blood pumps bright, then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. Incidentally, I don't need to use the hint. You can use Moth and you can use Grail to deceive or seduce them. But Trembling Heat. Let's do the Ascent of Knives again. Should have done the Painted River. Alright. A bitter atmosphere. Winter passes the clothes, passes the skin, nestles in the veins. A 10th order influence, a gathering knot of power and peril. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. I'm curious if the bitter atmosphere would work for Connie's dread. Anyways, I visited the Ascent of Knives last night, the harshest of roads through the house. It has been sacred to the Miniscate and the Sun and Rags since the Intercalate, where the true sun was divided. When I woke, my room was freezing, and the chill of it had cracked the window glass. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to just keep plowing away at the stag door, so... Neville, having been destroyed and remade, Neville's gaze has grown furtive, his voice is sometimes shrill, he speaks freely of his dreams. Alright, let's get Violet to become an advanced winter representative. Actually, let's start with Clovette because... my follower will kneel as... oh yeah, we've already done that. So Clovette's determined happiness now borders on the fanatical. Good Lord knows what'll happen when she finishes the ritual. So it'll probably be a minute and a half of gameplay to finish the expedition. So one of the main reasons why I changed to Clovette is that if I need, I can get rid of the notoriety. I don't need to do that right now, but... a barred door, a cramped space, a hidden cargo. Now, if memory serves, I don't think Cater Hero, Forgotten Mithraeum, and St. Agnes Hospital actually have... I don't believe that those have... I don't believe that they have enemies, so the edge will not be as helpful for me here. But delayed delivery. The Watchers were guarding crates sealed with thief-signed ribbons. This was not a lawful operation. The owners of the cargo may not be pleased with our meddling. So more notoriety. Tristan is forge, you fool. 1 raw profit, which will help me with evidence. 1 hint. 1 bomb maker. Actually, I can use the bomb maker to take out Connie Lee. We had doll. In the attic above the skeleton house, there was a window. Beside the window, there was a box. In the box, there was a bandage. In the bandage was a twist of clotted hair. In the hair was wound a doll, because the window had never been opened. So that is a moth. I don't have a specific use for that moth, but we'll see. And of course, most importantly, a book. Lord Franklin Bancroft Diaries. The notorious journal of a notorious gentleman, written in Latin, no doubt for the sake of safety. Or to show off how educated he was. Okay. Tender of evidence, Spencer Hobson. I think I am going to queue up the bomb maker to blow up Connie. And... do I want to continue my expeditions with my summons? Or do I want to take a break? Let's go to St. Agnes first. I don't think the hint's going to help on this, but it'll keep them alive. And... they did good work here once. Certainly there were a few too many amputations, but there are individuals one would prefer not to walk the city streets. So we'll find out what's waiting for me after this is done. I'm just waiting to get... so I'm slightly lying in terms of when I'm ending, and this is just to make sure that I don't wind up using... it's basically just to make sure I don't wind up using the... using talk for something else with the bomb maker going down. So I just want to queue up stuff that I'm probably not going to remember next week. So the painted river runs from a great chamber near the white door far through the mansus to its far edge where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night and with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind. And all the while the captain and I discoursed of the secrets of the House of the Sun. Still trying to figure out if there's anything revealed in there that I need to know, but I've not been able to penetrate that mystery yet. Alright, in 5 seconds, I will be able to use my bomb maker. Got an easy way to get rid of that restlessness now. So, I am destroyed, I am remade. I now sear my skin, and by these marks I shall be known. I pledge myself to the flame, and I shall not flinch from any remaking. Clavette's optimism is daunting. She wields her joy like a hammer. Oh god, that's a good line. I'm going to use that. At some point, I will use that. Probably not in reference to my joy. Okay. Excuse me, my lady. All right, and I think that is it. So, thank you everybody for watching. If you are curious about what this game is, it is Cultist Simulator. This is by Weather Factory. It's a wonderful game by two delightful people, Alexis Kennedy and Lottie Bevan, as well as a team of hired hands. Alexis Kennedy did the design, writing, and coding. Production, marketing, and biz was by Lottie Bevan. UI design and coding is by Martin Nerukar, and I believe Nowhere Profit is now out of first access. But it's still available to buy. It's just that you can't get your face in the game anymore. But if you guys like card games, definitely check out Nowhere Profit. It's like FTL by way of Hearthstone with a little bit of a strategy game built inside. The art is by Catherine Unger, Clockwork Cuckoo, Lottie Bevan, and Sarah Gordon. Actually, there's a lot more art by Lottie in here than I originally knew. Music, Mary Beth Solomon, Brent Barkman, Mickey Erbe for Mickey Mar Productions Limited. The audio is by Soundcuts, additional coding by Chris Payne, and additional design by, I believe it's Colleen Porter. Special thanks to Sonia and PK, Matt Hosty, Haley Urias. Apologies again, Haley, if I mispronounce your last name. If you do ever happen to hear this and I need to be corrected, do not hesitate to send an email, a tweet. You can send a carrier pigeon across the Atlantic. You may want to go to the... I don't think Canada has a high commissioner. I know there's one for Britain here, but if you would like to go to the Canadian Embassy and give them what for, I do not know Christia Freeland, but she is an incredibly intimidating woman, and I'm sure that she will set me on the right path. And of course, literally everyone who has ever sent feedback or a bug report, in particular, Nubandius, you have had a lot of ideas about the game's UI and ones that I think would be helpful in one way or another. So if you've not sent them to support at weatherfactory.biz, I know they would appreciate it. Even if they don't implement it, they do appreciate feedback, and particularly when it's stuff along the lines of, I'm feeling X at this moment. So yeah, if you haven't played Cultist Simulator, it is a narrative card game. It is one where you will live the experiences of your character. You can break down life to representations on cards and actions that you can perform on them. There is no other game like it. I like it a lot. I think I'm cresting 100 hours. Where are we at? It says 91 hours, but that's only my Steam playtime. I also have a copy on GOG and on itch, so I'm sure if I sum the playtimes together, I've got over 100 hours inside the game. We have not yet finished a full playthrough to victory on the stream. I'm not going to say I'm feeling good about Dr. Harbs, but I believe we've been a little more systematic, and I have found some more reliable ways to accomplish particular tasks. So overall, I feel like I have a little bit more mastery over some of the game's mechanics. And we were actually, I think the Bright Young Thing would have been one that we took through to the end. It's just that I realized the solution a little too late. But anyways, you guys have been very generous with your time. I do like to do this at the end, especially because there are more people doing auto hosts. And I'll try and add a couple of lines for each one. So it all usually shuffles halfway through this, but I'll do my best. Star Bright Night, Love Lust Games. Of course, that was the... oh, there we go. It's already changed. So Kaylee Cakes. Kaylee Cakes does stream. She doesn't stream very often, but she's a delightful follower. A lot of Daisy, Nubisaur42, Chaotic Tabris. You guys got to see Johnny Big Time on his shout-out. Amber Ray, Malicide, Mr. Franz, I think he's a hockey player if memory serves, but someone I knew from Kaylee Cake stream, Unknown Brigade, Vanguard Master, Rambler 146, Big Paradox, and generally strategy streamers, so someone you can definitely check out if you like that kind of stuff. Inferno Fowler, Yorkshire Bastard, Mingo Duck, Octavian Zero, who is focused on Path of Exile, and Twitch shuffled it again for me. So now I'm just going to run through it really quickly, and I apologize, but here are the people who are hosting me, and I do want to take the time to thank them. So Rambler146, Chaotic Tabris, Malicide, Custom Games, Ulster Fighter, Freighter 5, Unknown Brigade, Nubisaur42, Amber Ray, Inferno Fowler, Mingo Duck, Kaylee Cakes, Vanguard Master, Mr. Franz, Johnny Big Time, Star Bright Knight, Octavian Zero, Lovelust Games, and Yorkshire Bastard, who I think might still be inside here. So thank you very much, guys, for doing that. Oh my god, they just shuffled it again. I gotta get out of here. I have worn out my welcome. Thank you for dealing with the more of the digressions. There are a lot more people than I'm accustomed to having on my stream normally, so you guys are very generous with your attention. I appreciate it, and I want to be a good, I don't know, I want to make the most of your attention. If you're only here for Cultist Simulator, fear not, that is coming back next Wednesday unless Dirty Rectangles is going on. And if you want to know what's going on, you can always see me on Twitter, where I will announce whatever's happening lately. I'll be back Friday, most likely doing more Assassin's Creed Unity. I'll try and get a few of the missions done in between, so that we're not sort of running around not doing a whole lot. But as always, Friday is kind of the wild day, and we'll see where it all goes. Let's see who we can host. It's probably going to be Kilgore Trout, but I just want to double check. Yes, Kilgore Trout is the best man streaming at the moment, which may or may not be true, but he's the best available that I can see right now who's playing an interesting game. So, you guys saw him earlier. Kilgore Trout is a member of the GOG stream team. He's a really supportive caster of mine. I like to point out that he's somebody who achieved partnership at the time that the requirements for partnership have never been higher. And it will be very easy to see why. Not only does he do a ton of great classic games, he takes some time. So if you guys get annoyed by people not playing the game, you're going to hate Kilgore. He takes time out of his cast and he does box hype and movie hype. He shows you the boxes from the games that he bought originally. It's everything from, like, he's got Ultima, which has got the 5.5-inch floppy disks. He's older than I am, quite a bit older than I am. So I always like to joke. It's like, oh man, I didn't know games came with mouse pads back then. And he does not appreciate that. But he also does movie hype, and I am a big film buff. I used to work in movies, and he's got a great taste in classic movies, and he shares quite a few things from his really formidable DVD collection. He's a really unique caster. They didn't come with mouse pads, Kite 260. It's just like I'll send you a Discord message about what a 5.5-inch floppy disk looks like. I'm basically just making a joke that he's old, is what I'm really doing. But it's a mean joke. But anyways, Kilgore's great. You will easily see why I do know him. So if you want to use the raid message, Retarded System Talk, heard this place was better, I'll hang out for a little bit while I'm sending Kite the message, and I'm gonna get some sleep. So have a good night. See you guys Friday or next week if you're only here for Cultist Simulator, and we will catch you next time.